and at the time we were straight edge. One of
Yeah, yeah.
the straight
Which
edge
was
kids.
which, if you think about it, was even worse because we did all those things sober.
Yep. And we did a lot of stupid things, and then it just got stupider. Uh, so so I don't know. So yeah, so this would be, I guess, the first interview that I would be doing. Uh, Again, the name of the show is going to be called Let's Be Honest. And I think that's good for you and me because we're pretty honest with each other.
We're very honest, even in our differing viewpoints, even in our perspectives, even in everything. We're very honest.
Exactly. And I think this would be the first one because it give it would give everybody an introduction of who I am and what kind of personality I have and how us in friendship and dynamic they'll understand that, like, oh yeah, they're definitely friends.
Yeah,
There's no
because
without a
people,
doubt.
even online, like when you and I disagree on things or whatever, people will like message me and be like, "Oh, that guy Alex," this, and I'm like, "That's my homie." Like that's
So
like
I'm still my presence is still making a dent within society in some way, I guess.
yeah, there we go. There we go. So people will say that, and I'm like, "No, that's my homie. We understand each other." Like that's
He's a mutual friend of ours. He's since deleted his comment. I don't know why. I had posted about applying for a weekend job at the gas station just so I could people watch.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the mutual friend just goes, "I've seen you kicked out of multiple venues. Why don't you just get a job working?" And just that comment alone of "I've seen you thrown out of multiple venues" will give you an idea of who I am and who I associate myself with. So first,
Ah,
so first and foremost, that's why I'm starting it off that way. Who is John Mattos?
I'm just like Cardi B says, I'm just a regular schmegular man that enjoys a lot of fun and as you know very well, we grew up with a lot of friends, and as the time goes on, we're still friends, and I hold stuff like that dear to me. Yeah, man. I love skateboarding, history, music, hardcore hip hop, punk, everything, man. And so it's kind of shaped me and you too as well, pop punk, all that stuff. Like it shaped us into who we are today. And a lot of my perspectives of how I view the world is based off of those things, good or bad to some, but it is what it is. Like,
So here's the crazy part about it. We've known each other for how long? How many years would you say?
um,
Because it was like early 2000, maybe 5 or 6 or
yeah.
7.
So 15 plus.
Okay. Okay. And here's the thing, though. I, as long as we've known each other, and I hate saying this, so I know you're Brazilian.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So were you born in Brazil?
Nah, dude. I was born out here, right?
Uh-huh.
And both my parents are both Brazilian.
Okay.
And so they came here actually when they were like 26, 25-ish, like in the
So would that
80s
be like early 80s, late 70s?
or late 80s, late 80s. And so that was interesting, especially like growing up, like hearing these stories of like how it was there. And I don't know, life was better for immigrants actually in the 80s. There was a lot of policies that would enable them to work here. And so it's different from what it is now.
Mhm.
And so through that, they were able to get citizenship. And through that, they were able to, you know, be a part of society, out here. So,
Yeah. And then they spawned you into this world. God
yeah.
damn. You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah, this nuisance.
so what was John? What were you like as a kid? Because I've only seen teenage John, which has been pretty interesting nonetheless. So I'm just gonna say it now to the people here how John and I met real quick. Because I used to be in a pop punk band, and we were playing some there was a drive-through band. I don't know if anybody remembers drive-through. There was a band from New Jersey called Bedlight for Blue Eyes,
Yeah.
and we were playing a show with them. And I remember, I think it was after we played,
With
there was
Forrester.
I think Forrester was on, you're right, and there was that little mosh pit that
Yeah.
they said, and I'm standing there, and you're in the middle, and someone just came and pantsed you, and the first thing I saw was your fucking cock. So it's been friendship ever since. So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
only known that John. So who was John as a kid growing up?
Oh man, same thing. Same, just always talkative, always BSing. I remember I was 11 years old, and some dude in church like hit me off the side of the head, and I just started fighting him in church. Like I was just like, yo, like I was like, you don't touch me, only my mother hits me, like stuff like that. And this is like at 11, and like the preacher is like, don't worry about what's going on in the back there. Let's and I almost threw a chair at this guy in the middle of church, and I'm like, you know what? And then like I was labeled a nuisance. But if you really stop and think about it, was I really being an asshole? Not really. The guy should have kept his hands to himself, you know.
Yeah.
And it's things like that, and I still hold it till today. I'm like, I would never touch somebody else's kid like that, you know.
Yeah.
So
No. If maybe family members. There's some of these little kids that need a little smack in the head every now and then.
but yeah, but what you said, family members, that's the thing. This guy,
What if it's like a good friend, like someone you grew up with, kid, like a best friend? Would you
that's
still
different. That's so different. Yeah, I think that's different. Like, you know, if you were to like hit my son like up the side of the head, I would laugh. Like I'd be like, yeah, that's, you probably deserved it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's different. But this guy is just some random guy. I'm like, yo, dude, don't touch
What
me,
would be
man.
a better what would be a better strategy? Smacking them straight up, or like doing something like you wait and then you're playing softball or something with them, and you just make sure you aim to hit at the head, like then
Nah,
you
that's
get a lesson.
too much thought into that. I'd rather
You
just
know me,
grab
I'm
the chair.
I'm I'm methodical.
Yeah, I'd rather just grab the chair and just finish that situation right there. Like, let's just finish this right here.
John
I
Mattos body slamming a kid.
a grown man. It was an adult. It was an adult.
All right, so that was you as a kid growing up, and then what got you into like going to local shows, punk shows, and shit like that?
Well, like as you know, like there were in high school and even prior, like prior to high school, when I was in middle school, I got into skateboarding heavy. And so like we would skate with Kwame, that you know, and who now is a bass player, played for so many bands. But like growing up, he was like a saxophonist. He was into ska really heavily, and so we were always surrounded by these different styles of music and these genres and whatnot. And especially with skateboarding, like you open up a world, of Pandora's box, you know. And so heavily influenced with like hip hop and before hardcore, it was like definitely pop punk. Pop punk was like the main thing, you know. And we grew up all listening to that and getting involved into that stuff, and just one person would be like, yo, there's a basement show somewhere, or there's a show here, or whatever, Rexplex or blah blah blah, and we're like, all right, let's just start going. And we started going. Veltri with A Match Like Memory, like we were like great friends growing up, and so he was like singing for that band, and then he was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go blah blah blah, play this show, and we were like, all right, let's go. And that's how we all, you know, Jen's house, which was the best place to have basement shows. And like,
Was that she lived in was it Rahway?
No, Linden, right around from Chris.
You're right.
Yeah.
I had some interesting situations with her and a mutual friend of ours. And they dated for a bit. I'm not dropping names, just out of respect. We both know who they were. We both. So how I got into that whole scene was through that pop punk band Celsius that I had in Clark.
Yeah.
And low key, there was kind of a rivalry between Celsius and A Match Like Memory.
Yeah.
And we used to call it, before I ever met any of you guys, we noticed how different it was in Rahway compared to playing a show in Clark. It was like two separate worlds.
Night and day. It was night and day.
And we would call it the Rahway two-step, because you guys would do your little, you know, thing. And somehow through that and Forrester, we just started playing shows with each other, and then that's how I ended up meeting you guys and started getting into hardcore. And
Yeah.
then problems, fights started happening, and within pop punk shows, these it was
Yeah.
hardcore shows.
No, because it was just a bunch of assholes together. But what was crazy and great though? Like it was funny. It would mix like different people from different cities, like Rahway and then Linden. There was like, and we would be categorized as, oh, those kids from Linden. Oh, those kids from Rahway. Oh, those. And like we unknowingly, we would literally like be the talk of our cities, or be like those are the, and we'd be like, huh, what, we're just having fun, like we're just like, what do you mean, like what do you mean, like mad funny.
That's how I met. Then in high school, I went to Summit High. A lot of drug cats. You remember drug cats?
Yeah, yeah.
I went to high school with
Yeah.
a majority of them.
What, Schaefer,
Keeper, Pointer,
Pointer,
Denoy,
yeah.
and then Yutch was in Berkeley Heights.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
So
I knew them, but then I was terrible in high school. I'd never liked school. So they sent me to a vocational school. The principal was just like, listen, you're not going to graduate at this rate. We're going to give you an opportunity to learn a trade. So computers, whatever.
yeah,
I got the shit end of the stick because within the first week of going to, I think it was in New Providence, it was a vocational school. The teacher got arrested because he was holding stolen goods in his garage for a friend of his. So the teacher was gone. So then they got a new teacher, which was another computer guy that had no idea how to teach. So he would just sit there and we would just feed him chocolate and he would let us do whatever we want. We would fucking have fights in there. We would watch bum fights. We would make movies. And I met Randazza there. And
yeah,
through Randazza, that's when it really opened up, the doors. Because then we met Deo.
yeah, yeah.
And Randazza was the first person I ever smoked pot with. And that same day I met Deo, and that's how, like that. Then that same day too, I met um, G Dog as
Man, what a
well.
character. I told you the last time I saw G Dog was at I think the last back to school fest. And it was like so funny because we have like short history together, like in a fun way. But it was so funny seeing him because it was kind of like a, yo, what's up? He's like, oh my God, yo, what's up? And we were just kind of like looking at each other and laughing, just kind of like, holy shit, like kind of like probably like just like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, man, oh man. Like
And it's
I,
crazy. It's crazy to think that way. How much around that time it wasn't for me at least, when, let's say, example for the Mongoloids, like being there at the first show where Greg was wearing fucking the Superman outfit.
Man outfit, yeah, at
What's that,
Bloomfield.
Bloomfield, right?
Bloomfield,
It was
yeah.
at Bloomfield, and not not realizing that you're part of some type of history that you didn't even know what was gonna, like. All right, so I've been telling a lot of people here where I'm at in Georgia, because I've gained some friends that are into hardcore and punk, and they love a lot of these bands from New Jersey. Subscum, for example, being in the basement of this with the singer, hearing the lyrics, and he's like, "Yo, do you like them?" This, that, and the third. They were just starting off, and I'm thinking, "Yeah, this is great," but not realizing that something that started off in VFWs and whatever would grow into
Yeah, yeah,
out, something outside of New Jersey, and
yeah.
just being there, and it's interesting, man. How
That,
many people we've met, intertwined with.
yeah, yeah.
Some
That's why it's funny. That's why it's like we ended up becoming very much involved in New Jersey in general. And then like you'd blink your eye, you'd be like, oh, so and so is there. Oh, so and so is here. And then you're just like, what the hell? Like it's just very interesting. And that's part of why like organic growth is like beautiful too. Because we saw so many, like, or so much, of that nature, of just like from nothing to like thing, and in a nice way.
Mm,
Some others not, but we're not going to get into that. But
a lot of stories.
a lot of stories.
This
A
is
lot of
that's
stories.
why reason why I wanted to have you on, because again, I want people to get an idea of who we are, whatever this is becoming or becomes. I obviously have to be a little more honest and
Yeah, yeah.
vulnerability. So this is the perfect person that could talk about shit that we've been through would be you. Because we unfortunately, yeah, we've been through some dark times together. We buried a friend of ours, you know.
Yeah. Which till today is probably one of the most heartfelt funerals I think I've ever been to.
Oh,
Just
that
like,
really showed
yeah,
capacity of how New Jersey as a kid
yeah, yeah,
shows or just doing something of that nature and not realizing how what you do could impact people in such a way. Like this same person who we spoke about, Greg, like I hadn't seen Greg. That's when we had to bury who we had to bury.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I hadn't seen some of these people in a few years, and it felt like all whatever animosity people had with each other just went away for that day. And you're hugging somebody that you felt like you would never see again.
yeah,
That's the beauty of it all. It's
yeah.
crazy. It
Yeah, it
really,
really is. And no matter what, like as time passes and one is this way and the other one's that way, no matter what, like everyone is connected in a way. We still know that, like you know, others choose to, I guess, change their mindset or whatever, but regardless, they know, you know, that we're all part of something or we're part of something or still, you know, have that in us of just, you know, we used to hang out every time we would leave or leave the house or go to a fucking show or go to a freaking supermarket or whatever. It was like 10 deep. Like we would roll in like packs of like so many people. And it was like the craziest, funnest times. It was just like we made our own rules. It was the funniest shit. Like it was like, man.
it was so I was watching funny, I was watching it. I shouldn't say it on now. I don't. So I was watching the movie Kids. Where I was watching it, whatever. But I was watching the movie Kids, and I had told a buddy of mine who was next to me. I stopped the movie and I said, "Yo, I'm watching Kids." I said, "You have no idea how much this movie reminds me of my youth.
Yeah, man.
All that shit in that movie I've experienced because it's different down here. You know,
Yeah, it's very, I was gonna ask, yeah, it's very different.
yeah, I'm sure they've done sort of the same thing, but more spread out. Where we came from, every day felt like, especially the summertime,
Yeah.
every day there was something happening.
What? During the week, like we remember like I remember being in high school and like there would be shows on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we would go to every single one of them and still show up for school and still be fine and
Uh,
still like kind of like do our stuff. But like every we would be at everything. We would be like a Wednesday night in New Egypt, like going like to like fucking see I don't know, You Lose or something like that. And like we would, and then we'd still make it for school the next day. It was like it was incredible.
so yeah, by the time I had started hanging out with you guys, I was going to high school in Summit. So I'd go to school, then I would go to my after school job. I was working at a department store. And this guy that I worked for, Eric Modell, quick background about him. It was a family owned business and he was always professional. But then he found out that I'd listened to Slayer, for example. He
Yeah, yeah.
bought my iPod and downloaded all my music because he used to listen to that in the 80s. This guy
Wow.
actually took me to go see Metallica and Slayer a few times and shit like that. So I was working for him. And then by that time, I had also gotten a job at Starland.
Yeah.
Through Deo, I was working the street team. And then one of the guys, he's a stand up comedian, Chris Johnston. Um, he used to work, he was a stagehand. He was one of the managers. And through just connecting with him, so I was doing load in and load out work. So I get there for the show, watch the show. Around 1 o'clock, we're loading in the trucks. I'm not getting home till about maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, go back to school, and do it all over again.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I know. I remember, and then going to shows, Howl, or
Yeah.
going to Bloomfield, Meat Locker. We
And
always had
honestly,
something to do.
yeah, and I don't regret one bit of it because it's, man, time precious times that we had, and funny times, getting kicked out,
Mhm.
stopping shows, ending shows. We would end shows. It would be five of us or whatever, and we would just end the whole show. It'd be like, no, 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 fuck that.
All right, so this is one of my favorite stories of you. It was at it was a church in North Jersey. What church was it? It had the big stairs.
Garfield American Legion.
Was it Garfield? It had the you had to walk up those long flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Sky Sets Unfold was a New Jersey band
Yep.
that was had their little group, and
Yo, they were great. Honestly, they were so nice people. They were awesome. They were always like, it was mad love every time we would show up. And they were just like, we ended up being friends like after a while, you know?
And Bob, the reason why I had liked them because Bobby, the singer, he's into literature. I think he's an English teacher now. And his lyrics, if you hear the lyrics, is very poetic, but it was all about friendship and it's sticking with each other. That's what a lot of that hardcore scene was at the time, even though it was bullshit beefs with people from different towns.
Yeah.
So what I remember was that show, and something had happened where they got fucked over.
Yeah, so it was there. I think they were from Garfield or something like that, right? It was like,
no, I think they were from Manahawkin.
Okay, because I
Definitely
don't
a
know,
band.
but I know that they would play there all the time.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like they had that like thing going where they were kind of like the house band over there at Garfield American Legion, right? And they were supposed to play either second to last or towards the end of the bill. And they had these touring bands that came in, and they didn't want, first they pushed them to open up the whole show. And then besides that, they pushed them to open up the whole show, and they didn't want to pay them with all these touring bands. And it was packed. It was so many people and all that stuff. And it was packed. So they told us, I remember they told us, and we were like, yo, that's fucked up, man. Yo, timeout. Nah, that's not cool. Nah. All right. Then we handled it, and the show got shut down.
See, the one thing about us growing up is what I remember is, and I've been like this as an individual, but I think that's why all of us like sort of conjugated with each other and we just stuck with each other like magnets, is we all had the same mentality. If you told us to do something that was against our own free will, chances are we're going to do the opposite.
Oh, for sure. And show you why we can, you why we can do that.
All right.
Because it's based off of bullshit. Like, it's like, it'll be things like that. It's like, wait, what? It's just not, it's just like, oh, so you're going to fuck our homie and really fuck them up, not pay them. And you guys are going to be leaving tomorrow, never come here again. And you expect us to just be like, oh, that's cool. Like, who are you? Like, yeah, who are you?
So moving forward in the story, what I remember was as soon as that first guitar or the first note played, it was just chaos. Everybody that came to see Sky Sets, it was a significant amount, but compared to the amount of people that came to see the other bands, it was like 300 versus the whole fucking country. And we were the type that despite strength in numbers or whatever you want, despite the numbers, we're gonna hit you with a dent. So Mattos himself decides that he's gonna jump on the merch table. I think he kicked the merch guy, jumped off and flipped the fucking table over. And I remember a trash can being thrown, and it was just chaos, just fighting.
It was
throwing things, and we made sure that Sky Set known that day as like we come with people.
Yeah, like, yo, don't fuck with Sky Centerfold because they're great people. Two, they make great music. Like, and these other people are not from here. So let's keep the Jersey scene alive. Let's keep us supporting New Jersey artists. Let's not let these outsiders come in and just fucking do some willy-nilly shit on everybody. Like, nah, don't do that.
I think I saw 25 to Life there with Minari and somebody else, and I think there was a kid there at the time that I had beef with, and there was also skinheads there, and
shocking.
I'm an idiot altogether. I'm still a walking contradiction at times. I just remember not giving a shit that skinheads were there and just going nuts for 25 to life. And they actually were like, yeah, all right, whatever. The kid is just having fun. You know,
Exactly. All
you put
that.
yourself in that situation. So that's what I miss about hardcore shows too. I was talking to the singer of Threat to Society, Chris Russo,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'm asking him, what is it like in Jersey now when it comes to hardcore shows? And Threat to Society, very anti-government, very fuck the system, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
um he says it's not the same, and I said, I miss going to hardcore shows, feeling scared, having anxiety, walking through Bloomfield Ave Cafe. It's dark,
Yeah,
you know and seeing people that
yeah.
have reputations and got acquitted for murder, you know
Yeah, yeah.
seeing that said person who's actually kind of shorter than me destroy people
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of affiliations. And
Yeah, we don't have to say names, but there was this one dude, I'm not gonna say his name, but every time I would see him at a show, I'd be like, holy shit, like this guy's a fucking assassin, like legit. Like I'd be like, look at this guy. I would just fucking look at this guy and be like, yo, I don't know. I was like, this guy's gonna kill somebody, like legit, like legit. And it was very funny, just like how things just panned out, like how shows would be. The last show I went to was with Brett, and it was Brett, Ant, Casey, and Chris, and we were all there. And man, like you said, Russo just said, it's a very kind of like funny, interesting dynamic, and it was in Brooklyn too. So I don't know. I think Brooklyn, New York, hardcore scene is just it's different. I think it's grittier than New Jersey from
you
what
know
it
what?
was now.
Fuck the Brooklyn hardcore scene. I really don't mean that.
Say
Like,
it. Well, fuck
that
it.
love, no, because there was one time it was when I was in the circus. I was in Queens at the time. It was one of the last stops, and some of the workers I was working with, I told them it was my birthday. So you're like, all right, fine, we're gonna go out. And this is when I was still drinking.
Mhm.
So I remember I had like I had a lot of whiskey and a lot of beer, and we ended up in Brooklyn at, I think, St. Vitus?
St. Vitus, St. Vitus, yeah.
And I think it's like a bar, and then there's another side that's the main stage. And we were seeing some punk band, and I got thrown out of that bar because I was too drunk and crazy for the punks who were there wearing leather jackets and
Shocking, right?
yeah, and I'm wearing a Modern Life is War hoodie because
Espera ahí. Hold on one second.
yeah.
No, no, no. Entrevista. Mas já tô aí. Hold on.
Yeah. Check mine.
No, but yeah, isn't it the irony in that, right? You were at a punk show and you were too punk for the punks. What was that? Was that
I was too drunk in publics for them. I was it was and they ripped my fucking favorite hoodie. I had loved that fucking hoodie. Like,
Which one?
it was a crest hoodie, and it was Modern Life is War, and it was just a little crest. I ordered it from Death Wish because they weren't really playing shows at the time. I think it was way before Fever Hunting came out. And
Man, what a great album. Oh man, what a great album.
what a great band.
Yeah, you're right.
I remember Pico, Francisco, wherever he is in the universe right now. He one of his and I wish I was there. He said one of the best shows he ever went to was Modern Life is War at an apartment building in New York. It was
So
like a
good.
loft, and
Sounds
people were
good.
jumping off and shit like that. And
Damn.
I was like, "Fuck, man."
Lily loves Modern Life is War as well. I remember growing up, he was like always like Modern Life is War, Modern Life is War. Fuck everything else. I don't care. Like this is like he would just be like, yo, man. Truly, again, heartfelt lyrics. great, powerful riffs, like just like musically speaking, just amazing like arrangements. Just like you're just like,
As you get
man.
as you get older, you listen to the lyrics now, they're a working class band, like they're for the working class, like in the warehouse, grinding it, fuck,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So they point out the irony of um
Society.
yeah, in
Yeah, yeah,
general. But
yeah, true.
all right, so that's one crazy story about you. Um
Do I say the one about you? The snake story? Do I say
which one? There's plenty of them. The snake story.
that was like within chapters? That one had chapters. The snake story had chapters, which Jake hates you till today, by the way, because of that. So it's okay.
That's why he has his resentments. Oh, geez. Oh, geez, boy. I'll pay for the glass door. Like,
No, you gotta ship a rubber snake to Jake. I'll give you his address. You gotta ship a
no,
rubber snake to him and just leave it from Alex Mexican.
buy him the glass door that was broken. If that's gonna help the situation, I don't
You
know.
know,
All right, so
wait. Before we segue.
no, I was gonna get into the story, but go ahead.
All right, no. Well, okay. In front of Jake's house, I remember I after school one day, I crossed the street from his house. They had set up this. We must have been like what 18, 17-ish or whatever. They set up like a clandestine boxing match, and there were so many dudes in the back. Jake will definitely tell you about this. And we were just in somebody's backyard, literally across the street from Jake's house, in somebody's backyard, and this boxing match, like two dudes had gloves, and we're like, yeah, like it was straight up, like I felt like I was in Thailand, like watching some fucking Muay Thai shit. We're like, yeah, and everyone's just fucking like boxing it out, duking it out, and we're like, yo, this, come on, whatever 17-year-olds were doing that shit. Like, I don't know, I don't think there were many like.
That town was definitely the town where shit like that would happen.
Yo, so good.
That was a town where I had broken edge for the first time, and that's when the drinking really came into my life. It was at this girl's house who was friends with Kyria, and
Yeah.
it was a shot of Sailor Jerry's rum.
I know, and you were obsessed with Sailor Jerry's Flash after that for a short period of time too.
21st birthday, I got the tattoo.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm legal. I could fucking get tattooed and buy liquor now, so might as well just get a tattoo that's has to deal with liquor.
Yeah.
On my 21st birthday, why not? I put a lot of thought into it. Obviously, put a lot of thought. All right, so the snake story. Let's get into the snake story.
Yeah, you gotta.
Were you there that night? The first night?
So I was at Paige's house, and I remember I couldn't fit in the car. Like there was not enough room in the car. And looking back in hindsight, thank God I did not go into that car. But but I remember Lily or somebody was there already. But I remember, did you hop in the car from Paige's and then go?
See, I don't remember necessarily what happened. So from what I remember, we were in Westfield. We were going to Westfield because that's where it started. I don't know why we were going to Westfield, but I remember we were walking around and there was a kid there. I forget his name, but he had what I remember distinctly about him, he had a hearing aid in one ear. And he was he's like one of those kids that was trying to be part of the group, and we already had our set amount of people, and we were already comfortable. Like outside entity would have to really deal with us because you know how we had reputations of like you couldn't sleep around each other because you're gonna get fucked with, you couldn't bring a girl around because something is gonna happen where they're going to test the waters to see how far we could take it. And if they end up leaving crying or upset, then we broke you. We can't
do this. Can't hang out. Sorry.
Yeah. So we end up in Westfield, and he had told us, hey, do you want
to shout out to Aaron Wave, by the way. That was always awesome. And would always put up with our bullshit.
I'm sure she has some flashbacks or some traumatizing memories of shit that happened. But so yeah, he comes up to us and he says, "Hey, do you want to go to a party?" And it was like some apartment party in Westfield.
Yeah, I
Oh
remember
yeah,
exactly where it was. I remember exactly where it was.
it
I
was a
didn't go, but I remember driving by and either you or Lily would be like, it was right there. It was right there.
it
It
was
was
like a
right
brick building on the upstairs. It was a
there.
cool apartment, don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
it definitely had like Westfield definitely has those upper class hipster vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime it rained there, I always felt like I was in Seattle for some odd reason. Like it was an upsea Seattle area. So we get to the party, and I actually knew the person who lived in that apartment. It was this chick.
Yeah.
And that's because it was her, and I was seeing who she was hanging out with. And at the time we were straight edge. When it was
Yeah, yeah.
straight
Which
edge
was
kid.
which, if you think about it, was even worse because we did all those things sober.
Mhm. Yep. And we did a lot of stupid things. And then it just got stupider. Uh so
Remember when you and I almost crashed on the parkway because we had matching cars too, and we were like, "Ugh." We almost crashed. Like we got this close to like just tapping each other on the park. Remember
were you in the
that?
car when my wheel fell off
No, no, no.
on St. George?
I came and helped out after that because then I had just left school and then I came. You're like,
And
yeah. I think Paige was like, Mexican's car is off and this and this. We're like, oh shit. All right, let's go. I remember
you
that.
guys found out I was hooking up with Bridget.
Yeah.
So
Yo, she's a bodybuilder, by the way. That's so sick.
it's it's interesting how people change. Good for her. Get that health in. So okay, so we get to the apartment, and it was Halpin, Minari, Lily, Conklin, I think was there, some other people, and we all didn't drink. Everybody was drinking there, but we were just being this. This is a good point, because we were straight edge. It's funny how we were the irony that we were straight edge, and we end up doing way worse shit sober than actually drunk.
Yeah.
So at one point we're like destroying the apartment. Someone, I think Lily got salt and started shaking it around the apartment, messing up the paintings on the wall.
Wasn't Lily in the dryer at
All
one
right, I'm
point?
gonna get to that. So they started the girl who had the apartment, and I wonder if she's still around, if she ever sees this, which I doubt. I'm so sorry. I forgive me. At the time I was stupid, and I have learned since then not to do that.
Ah!
And I apologize to all the idiots that I was with. So she wanted to kick us out, and I decide to yell, "Okay, you heard her. Anybody with a dick, anybody with a penis needs to leave the apartment now." And that means you two, her
Classic.
friends that we didn't know who were drinking. And then Mr. White Knight shows up and was trying to be like, "Yo, man, you need to leave. She obviously doesn't want you here, blah, blah, blah."
Ah!
We're in the kitchen, we're in the kitchen near the door.
Oh my
And
god.
and I'm not looking to really do anything. And I'm just trying to fuck around and just get people pissed off and just have fun with it. You tell us to do something, we're going to do the opposite, because we're just trolls in real life. Minari decides to throw, and you know what? Fuck his glass door. Fuck his glass door, because he's the reason why.
Who, Jake's? Jake's.
He's the reason why this whole thing started, because he's behind me and jumps up and throws the first punch. So that's how everything happened.
Ah!
We're fighting them, and then Lily's in the dryer, and he's spinning around and saying, "I'm in the washing machine. I'm in the washing machine," or whatever he was saying. So a whole fight breaks out. That was event number one. Fast forward, between people got my number. I started getting phone calls
I
from this
remember.
named Snake.
Oh my god.
It led to the point where then he wanted to meet me, and I said, "Fine." because we're young, dumb, and full of cum, and we have nothing to prove and everything to lose and nothing to gain out of this because we're stupid.
True.
So
True.
I said, fine, come to this show in Howell at the Prince of Peace. I don't know who was playing, but um,
Years Spent Cold.
was it Your Spent Cold?
I
FSU was there.
It definitely was there. Yeah. Yeah.
So I told him to show up at that. Were you there?
I was there because
Okay.
we all went out to the parking lot that day.
Okay, so now we're together in this situation. Now we can
We all went out to the parking lot with not gonna name any names, but
names of people we know from
a lot of
different
names.
bands and shit. FSU was there. Snake didn't show up. Snake sent his buddies to show up. It was this big black dude, a white guy, and I think two other people. And one of the FSU guys, not naming names, let's just say acquitted.
Street Justice. He was there.
So he again, I'm taller than him. This is how crazy it was. And he looks up at the black guy and says, and you know what? I'm just gonna say it because whatever. It's really telling the story. I'm not gonna censor myself. Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it.
So he looks up at the black dude, and this is a big black dude.
Because like muscular or just big?
Just big and thick. He was like football player, like.
All right.
And I'm wondering, like, why didn't you send? Where's Snake? Like, I thought he was supposed to show up, and at one point, I was about to say the name. The person says to the big black guy, he goes, "You niggas want to roll?" And the black guy goes like, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "You niggas want to roll?" Like,
got on a roll or what? Like,
oh,
yeah.
What's up? And he goes, nah, I ain't like that. We just, we're looking for him. He goes, well, if you don't want to, then get the fuck out of here. You don't belong here. This is not, you don't want this. And yeah, so I remember looking around, and one thing about the New Jersey hardcore scene when it comes to the females or the women, because you can't say females apparently these days, so forgive me if I offend anybody.
You can't?
I've been having conversations down here. Georgia is progressive. Maybe that's a good thing, but in change of dialogue, certain things you can't say anymore.
What?
Yeah. So for the open mindfulness that I have now, forgive me if I offend anybody with said word.
With their genders descriptions.
But the one thing about the hardcore scene when it comes to the women in New Jersey was we had some really tough female. Excuse me. We had some tough women.
Yeah, some tough women, some females, whatever. Yeah, for sure.
And
we protected them too.
It was a lot of them
themselves.
Yeah, and it was a lot of them behind there and having weapons. I saw one person took a tree branch that was thick, and he was going to use that as a weapon. Like
everything goes. Everything goes. Yeah.
That was a situation at Howell. That was event number 2. This is where it ends up like a fucking movie, because then round 3 comes around. This is now where I'm finally going to encounter the main villain of this story. So I get a call, and finally we're going to arrange it that we're going to meet up at the Target parking lot on Route 22. It was the one before Roosevelt Park. It was the Target. It was a Circuit City.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we were going to meet up there. And at the time I couldn't get my group of people that I had before.
I remember hearing the after effect of this.
So I had gotten some high school friends, and these are people that I had rarely hung out with, but were some pretty, like, one kid came into my car with a fucking butcher knife from the kitchen in his sock. Like, these are kids, like, some of these kids went to fucking county jail. Yeah, so he was ready to go. So I had about 5 people, and we go to the parking lot, and we get there and we walk out, and we're just standing in the middle of the parking lot. John, there was something in the air where it just didn't feel right, because we're waiting, we're looking for people, we don't see anybody, but then all of a sudden you just see all these cars coming in and just parking in different spots near Circuit City. And all of a sudden you see like a mass amount of people just start coming in sporadic directions and just forming into some big group. It was like something from the movie The Warriors. And so they're in a big circle. There's about like maybe 30 plus people and against 5 people. And it parted like fucking Noah parting the sea. Just, and this guy literally comes walking up in a fucking trench coat. I think he had a bald head and a fucking walking stick with a skull on top. And
How old? How old do you think he was?
he had to have been at least 26, 27. That guy was near his damn 30s, hanging out with fucking. It was like, so it was like one of those 90s movies where, or like the Ninja Turtles, where that's his foot soldiers and he's the one that takes them in and I'll
He's
feed
Shredder.
you. Yeah.
He's Shredder. He's
You
Shredder.
work for me and you got protection. So Snake comes up, someone takes off his coat, hands it to the guy, hands his stick, and starts talking to me. And he saw and this is why I give him respect for. He saw who I was with compared to who he's with. So he said, listen, we need to end this now. This shit, whatever happened is bullshit. Let's scrap one-on-one.
Shoot the fade and that's it. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, fuck, all right. I'm gonna have to do this. Now I'm not a trained fighter, but I held my own when times were rough. But I was in a situation where I was dealing with a guy that obviously trained for boxing, because this motherfucker starts putting himself in a stance position and starts doing like the little like, you know.
Shit.
So I said, fuck, all right, fine. So we go at it, and I get in a good hit that I break skin and blood is drawn, but he gets in some really good hits where I'm on the ground now and he's on top of me, just pop, pop in my face. And I'm in my head telling myself, hold on as long as you can. Don't tap out so soon. Just take the beating. But then I finally tapped out after about hit number 6 or 7. And he gets off of me and he pulls his hand out and he picks me up and I swear to you, John, he goes, listen, he goes, you really took these hits. I respect you for doing this, like getting this over with.
Way to go, champ.
If you ever need anything, you have my number now. Call me if you ever. So now I end up fucking whatever it was. If I needed Snake, him and his little warrior crew, his foot soldiers, will come and conjugate and watch the sky unfold.
So good. So good. So good.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
I got a good black eye out of it.
Oh man. And to think that there are more stories. Like the people don't know how they don't know, like there's way more. Like there's way more.
Boy Sets Fire, Years Spent Cold at Starland.
Oh my god. A Day to Remember.
Oh yeah, they wrote a song about you, didn't they?
Yeah, when I faked my death during one of their shows.
New Jersey American Legion Ice-T.
Same place the Sky Center Unfold thing happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then the Ice-T is because of Wawa. So we have that. There's a lot of inside jokes with Jersey and Wawa.
Sam No Dice was the one who told me about the song, and I only found out like, I'm gonna say 5 years ago.
Sam No Dice and Kristen were there when I went to one show at Up Jersey. Some kid, was it Nick Han? Some kid Nick that I was having beef with, and I showed up to his show, and because Sam told me about it, so he came, and we again. So Jersey too, obviously everybody wants to stereotype that we're very mafia, New Jersey Shore, Sopranos mentality, which is true.
Yeah, you know what it is? We're very united. That's all it is. It's like when we have a group, anybody, whatever, we're all very united. Like
I was talking to a kid about this earlier this week, that in New Jersey, you have your beef with different towns, different people from different towns inside New Jersey. But when you're outside, let's say you're in Florida, for example, and you meet somebody that's from New Jersey, despite the town, they could be from fucking one of their little, up like Summit, yuppie towns, but you find out they're from Jersey and you're in Florida with them, guys are the best of friends because
bro, it happened to me when I was, listen to this. So I was in Amsterdam and I'm sitting by the canal, just chilling, like sitting down, whatever. Some dude like sits down. He's like, "Yo, what's up? Yo, what's up?" And he's speaking English. So I'm like, "All right, cool. You're definitely not from here. You're definitely not from Holland or whatever." And we're talking. And then I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Jersey." He's like, "Oh, I'm from Jersey. Where are you from?" He's like, "I'm from Newark." I'm like, "Yo, I'm from like Linden area, this and this." And he's like, "Yo," we're like, "Yo, what's up?" Like in Amsterdam, out of all fucking places in the world. And same thing happened. I met this guy from Cherry Hill
Mm.
in during a soccer game, watching Barcelona play. He sat down right next to me. We're bullshitting. He goes, "Yeah, I don't really fuck with soccer, this and this, blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's cool, this and this." I'm like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "I'm from Jersey." He's like, "I'm from Jersey too. I'm from Cherry Hill." I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, out of all places, like, it's so funny, like, it's so crazy, like,
That's
when
the
that shit
power
happens.
of it all, man.
It's
So
awesome.
yeah, again, yeah, so we have that stereotype of being very soprano mafia like, very blunt. I was told I'm very blunt down here.
Same, yeah,
Um,
same, yeah.
so yeah, so I went up to the kid's drum set and I started spinning the cymbal, just like looking at it, and he looks at me, "Please don't touch my drum set." I said, "No, I'll do what I want," because I was after him, and it
I
got to the
remember this story. I remember this story.
got
No, no, please tell me. Please tell me. I like
it got to the point where we're
parts.
going at it mouth wise, and then he was like going to get up and come towards me, and I took the cymbal stand. No, I took the cymbal stand and I picked it up and I went like that to his face, hit him in the face with it, and
Oh
a
my god.
fight broke out, and some lady is screaming. So I picked, and it was an older lady. We don't give a fuck at the time. We didn't give a
At the
fuck.
time, at the time, yeah, at the
At the
time.
time, now we're older. We're dealing with it in some way. So I pick up a pedal and I threw it at her direction, almost hit her in the head and just threw it. And then we left and shut down the show that we didn't even go to see because I just had some stupid beef with some kid
Bro,
at the time.
bro. Yo.
Oh, whoever, if he's out there, I'm sorry. It is what it is.
It is what it
It
is.
is what it is. So, all right. So now we got a little idea of who we are, where we come from.
Yeah,
We we definitely have a survival mentality.
for sure. For sure.
Very tight knit. Now you're a teacher,
Yeah. Yeah.
history teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're millennials. I'm actually been conversing with is it Gen X or Gen Z?
This
This new
new
group.
generation Gen Z.
All right, so I've been in contact with a Gen Z and just hearing, because I'm curious, because I think as we get older, we have a responsibility of knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
And, I don't believe in the idea of it takes a village to raise a child, but I think the village still needs to know what people are thinking, especially the youth, because at this point, from what I see, the youth is lost, and there's some that are straight minded to try and make the world a better place. But I think their intentions are, it's not narrow, it's so wide that they're going to end up feeling hopeless at some point if things don't really change the way they want to. So what I wanted to find out with you as a high school teacher, especially in New York, in a place that's right now with the pandemic, and I don't know if YouTube is going to strike this when I post it because you're not allowed to say certain things. So with what's been going on, how have you seen, or what is your view on the youth of today as a teacher, and dealing with what's been going on?
Honestly, just your point, I think what you said is very correct, but it does take that village. You know what I mean? Because if it's only one of us or two of us thinking a said way, and there's 10 more that don't, it kind of fucks up the rest. It fucks up progress. So I think if everybody joins into like a general consensus of like, yo, things are fucked up, we need to guide them into a better light, we need to do this, we need to do that, I think it'll definitely help. And in New York, man, it's just what it is. It's like you were just saying, how people view us from the East Coast as very like blunt or very, you know what I mean? And these kids are the same way, and so we kind of, in the school system, sometimes we tend to punish them for sometimes speaking their mind. And I drift away from doing things like that because I try to let the child be the child, like have a point of view, have a perspective, um, have something that they want to say. Like the other day, one of the kids started gunning me and whatever, and I was just like, all right, it's cool, like I gunned him back, like it's just, it is what it is, like. And so those things, whereas when we grew up, if we would gun our teacher, it would be like the biggest utmost disrespect ever, like, you know, it would be like, whoa, you are like the worst thing ever. But it's not. It's like, it's also our way of connecting. It's their way of connecting with us. It's their way of like saying, yo, is this guy a piece of shit? Is he gonna like, you know, is he gonna like you put me in detention for like saying that he looks like a fucking, you know, whatever, like. And honestly, I'm thankful that we grew up in a way in which those things were very like, it was a normal occurrence, like it was just a normal thing. And so I like the kids because of that. I love history first and foremost, but being able to teach history and how important it is, and also being able to joke around and not make it so rigid and so this super duper structure. It has to be like, no, like let's enjoy our time together and learn in the process. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it means a lot. And you know, growing up in the East Coast, man, I understand these kids. I understand like how these kids, you know, you get the cool kids that are normal, and then you get the wild ones that you could tell that if we don't help them, they can cause a problem in the future. Like,
Now, do you see like a lot of kids like so let's say you got I'm sure it's still how it is in high school when it comes to cliques and different groups. It's always going to be like that in society in general. People are always going to conjugate or stick with each other in some form, and then anything outside of that world is maybe um not of their interest. So it's sort of like high school. You got the popular kids, the geeks and whatnot. But do you see with social media and whatnot, like how is it with kids? Do they get along with each other a lot easier now compared to how it was in like my high school experience? Do you see like the jocks looking out for maybe kids that you know get bullied, or is it still sort of the same as maybe your high school experience? I don't know how your high school experience, because you were in Linden. Linden is pretty diverse as well.
yeah, dude. And honestly, a lot of people talk bad about their high school experience. I had an amazing high school experience. Like we all got along. Like it was like, and we would joke around about the fact that we all got along. Like it was funny shit to me. Like it was literally everybody from every background. It would be Spanish, Black, African, white, Asian, whatever. Like we would all get along. Like, and it was funny and it was great, and it was like, it was very interesting. So my experience also differs from a lot of others that I've heard. Like if you go to school in like Cranford or like Westfield, it's a total different like mindset or whatever. Like I remember growing up hearing that in Cranford, there was like two Black people in their whole high school, and like they would get like, you know, targeted or whatever. Like they, you know, and those things are real. But in Linden, like thank God, like it was very diverse, and in New York too, it's very diverse. So you get, it's beautiful, honestly. It's literally what society should be. And it's, people talk about New York and whatever, like it's literally what society should be. It's like you have the Asian kids, you have Indian kids, you have Black kids, you have white kids, but they all get along, dude. Like they all get along, and it's beautiful. It's like, it's great, man. And that's kind of how I grew up. So like when I see these things, and I don't I don't gravitate to one over the other. I try to help those who need help. You know, I don't care who you are, but they all get along, man, and it's beautiful. It's
Do do
beautiful.
do the kids act? Because I feel like the youth of today, but as a kid, you're always gonna, even especially a teenager, you're always gonna act like you know everything. But with today's technology and everything being so accessible, do you feel like the kids are more keen to
Advanced.
try and not advance, but more keen to try and be like, well, I know more than you, boomer, sort of thing?
No, some of them have those jokes. Like it's funny you said that. Some of them, somebody made fun of one of our teachers the other day, which is also a cool, like funny thing that they said. They were just like, yeah, that's because you sound like a boomer when you say that, whatever. But it's like, but they also, it's, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's in love and respect at the same time, you know, it's all in love. And so the way that I love my school
Mhm.
because the teachers are also, they're young. They're like, they're not like, you don't have a lot of those like super senior, like 40, 50-year-old teachers over there. You don't. And so you have these teachers that are around the same age that kind of relate, you know, they understand these kids, you know. And that to me is awesome. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. And so you get a lot more smiling faces than you do like, you know, the
So how
different.
is it when it comes to like so I'm basing all these questions I'm basing off of my own experience in high school because I was a little shithead and
Me too.
I was Mr. Experiment and Mr. like crossing the line. So like example where you had mentioned earlier about some teachers don't look at the students like they look down on them. And a lot of my there was one teacher,
I
maybe
hate that.
teachers that really tried to relate with the kids, but still had authority, but were more soft spoken compared to this one, my math teacher, for example. And I was being a shithead, but at the same time, no, I was being a shithead, but he was a piece of shit. He always, yeah, he was a piece of shit. So, anyways, I brought like a balloon in class and he wanted me to throw it away. And I was rebelling against it because I wanted my balloon for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
He brings me into the back office of the classroom and we're talking about it. And I turn around, and as I'm turning around to leave, I said, "You know what, Mr. Trees, you could be a real prick sometimes." And
Valid. Very valid.
so he grabs my hoodie, and I was wearing a hoodie with that zip. This is why I don't wear zip up hoodies anymore. I learned my lesson in high school quick because I had the zip up hoodie, and he pulls my hoodie like that to pull me, and the zipper is in my throat. And he drags me to the office, and we're waiting in the office for the principal until the bell rings, and then he goes, "I'm going to see you later about this," and then just leaves. But like the fact that he grabbed my hoodie.
I was gonna say, and you see, would it be wrong for you to punch somebody in the face like that? I don't think so. If I did that to somebody's child and they decide to hit me, that is very valid. I should never touch somebody's child like that. It goes back to what we were saying, like when somebody like tapped me in the head and shirt or whatever, like you don't do that to
Yeah.
people. There's a respect. There's a thing.
I would have done that, but the thing
No,
is,
no, I know.
and so I didn't live in the town that I was going to high school because there's that whole thing where you have to live in a town, tax purposes, or whatever. So I found a loophole to go to where I went to high school and still lived in Irvington.
Yeah.
So the problem was if I couldn't expose myself, if people would have found out my backstory,
Yeah.
I could have gotten, my parents probably could have gotten fined or arrested for, I guess, fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And because they didn't want me
No.
going to Irvington High. So a few tiny people knew, and they were nice enough not to say anything. But I'm surprised though, the shit I did in high school, I was able to go through and not get caught, but because I was a shithead. So like, so with the kids, the question I wanted to get to is like, when it comes to drug use or even sex or anything, do you think do you notice that kids have changed? Like you don't see a lot of drug use?
So I deal with middle schoolers. So I think all that would be heavily more intense in like a high school.
Mhm. But you'd be
But
surprised a lot of middle schoolers that they do experiment at a young age.
no, for sure. But from what I see and what I've heard, I
Mhm.
will tell you this though, not drugs, but there's a lot of kids and who I care for deeply, deeply. Like literally, I check up on them. Like if I'm not around, I'm like, dude, is this person okay? Is this person okay? But they're from different backgrounds. Like there's these kids that are maybe, let's say they're from the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
And the Bronx is known to get busy. Like, you know what I mean? Like so kids see things at a young age that generally other kids don't see. Like
Mhm.
this one kid talking to me about his friends, things that we are accustomed to knowing or hearing, kid talking to me about like, hey, my friend runs around with a knife, or my friend has this gun and this, but like this, we were fine. And then he pulled it out. What, like how, he trusts me, so he tells me that.
Mhm.
How am I gonna then open up my mouth and tell it to everybody? Like, yo, this is, you get what I mean? So I then care for that kid as if that kid's my son. You know what I mean? I then care for that kid because I don't want to see that kid go down a wrong path.
Mhm.
You know, I do tend to tell a couple of people, but hey, be careful, watch out, just, you know, give love to this kid. He needs it, or she needs it, or whatever. But they come from some backgrounds that, you know, other people don't know. And that's relates to what you were saying before. It's like there's some people who try to relate to the kids, and that's, I believe as teachers, we should all try to relate in some way, shape, or form, because you don't have to be from that background to understand that somebody's suffering, or that somebody is experiencing things that they shouldn't really be experiencing. But you can't really say, hey, don't experience that. No, niggas still gonna go back to the hood. Like, after school, the bell rings, he's going back home. Like, you can't change that, you know what I mean? But what you can do in the time that he or she is there, you can encourage them, and you can give them like positive influences, and, you know, and show them that, hey, you could still be you, but be a positive influence to those people around you, you know what I mean? And so I think as teachers, we gotta step the ball up, and instead of just punishing kids for no reason, you gotta seek to understand these kids before you punish them, because you punishing them just literally just pushes them away. Like, it doesn't help anything. They're just like, okay, fuck it, I'm punished again, it doesn't matter. Like,
That's why, like, so John and I keep in contact with each other like every single fucking day. And one of the times that I told you, remember, is the best option right now is whatever flaws somebody has, you got to find those small little good qualities about them, and you got to recognize that, encourage it, give it compassion. It's like planting a seed and nurturing it.
yeah,
And if you find that little piece of good quality in that person, it could be anybody, and you, something within that is going to give them hope, because you're recognizing that yes, they're human and you have emotions, and
yeah, yeah.
so what I want to ask then, because I know it's, as a teacher, there is a responsibility and a contract or some sort of promise towards a school when it comes to liability purposes and whatnot. How do you find that balance between a situation where you're talking with a student and you're just like, do I report it? How do I go about it? Because essentially, too, let's say it gets to a situation where you have to report it. You and I know especially what it's like dealing with, like, let's say doctors or the law. You're potentially putting them in a situation that could change their life dramatically, but you're also concerned about their safety and the safety of others. How do you find that balance in certain situations where you could potentially, if you, let's say, God forbid, you ignore it, something happens the next day? How does that, what keeps you going and finding that balance and not getting too caught up in the moment?
I tend to let people I trust as well
Mhm,
in on what's going on.
mhm,
Um, there are a few people that I trust within the system too, that I know actually care, you know, and so I inform them like, hey, look out for so and so because they're going through this and this. Because the one thing I do not want to do is put them in the hands of somebody that will not help, that will just like suppress them.
mhm.
And that's my fear, is that I tell it to the wrong person, and then that's it. That kid will never trust anybody for the rest of their life, and it can cause a worse, like it can cause something way worse than what we imagined initially, you know. And so that's my fear, is just saying it to the wrong person. And so I luckily, like I said, like there's like so many great like teachers that I work with that actually care, and that they're there for great reasons, you know. And so I entrust them. I trust them with like knowing like, hey, you know, this person, like, careful, like just be yourself, because I, you know, show them the love that you would show anybody else, you know. And so I, you know, I can't do everything. And like I said, like, and like you mentioned before, um, just a glimmer of positivity. There's good in everybody, and I learned that honestly growing up in church. Like, if I really stop and think about it, we were just talking about our stories. Like, I'm a piece of shit if I really, really want to say it, but God, still loves me and puts me in positions that I never thought I'd be in, or never thought that I would be able to. And so when I see somebody that's going through it, I don't initially think, yo, this person sucks. No, this person's going through it. Like, there's something going on. And so just the same way God still loves every single one of us, even though we fuck up all the time, it's still,
So this is where, like, you and I differ a lot in a sense of this. But we have our little debates or little arguments or whatever. So like, I have my views on race and whatnot, but again, it was how I was raised. Going to a Catholic school that was so diverse, Indian people, Asian, African, Black, Hispanic, white, white as in Caucasian, whether it be Irish, Italian, even though some people like to say that Italian people are African in some form. There is that joke.
Yeah. You can't tell them that though, because they're northern Italy is very racist, and they'll even tell you that.
Yeah. So how I was raised was, I hate when saying this, but it's true though. You don't see color when you're around people that are so diverse at a young age. You just see, because the best example to look at how pure we are and how truly good we are as people, because you're right, there is good in all people. You look at children, and you see kids, they don't give a shit what you look like. It is taught, that's ignorance taught. And you see a kid interacting with another kid, it's just pure innocence. So, and then going from there and going to high school in Summit and being from Irvington, I learned at a young age through actually my bully, because I had a bully in high school, that you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Just like how you said, these students are there at school now, but then after school, they have to go home and deal with real life, Yeah. So I got to see at a young age that you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Everybody is suffering in some form, because when I finally befriended my bully and got to see where they lived, in a town that's considered, upper working class, a lot of doctors, lawyers, a lot of people coming from money. But then you see some people don't live like that. They're really hardworking, but they just want to live in a good, decent town and give their kid a good education.
Yep.
I saw the life he was living, and I'm just like, damn, like, now I can see why you're angry. I can see why you want to pick on me.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how, because I don't know how teachers think. There's so much talk, so this is why I want to get it from the horse's mouth. Horse.
There is a difference. I've noticed that early in getting into my career and getting into this. I noticed it because it comes back to experience. Like you said, you didn't experience said things. I've experienced said things, and other teachers haven't experienced said things, and so they walk with that. No, and many adults, they're adults too. Many adults have that mentality. Oh, if I went through this, you have to go through this as well, and that's not the case, And so I see it very visibly. Like, I was just talking about some kids that are struggling and whatever, and we have to see the good in these kids or whatnot, right? So one thing that should be said is to uplift these kids. And what I've heard from other teachers that are Caucasian or white, and they call that same kid a sociopath. They call that same kid a problem, like basically a problem to society or this and this. Why? Because they don't have that upbringing of knowing that, hey, that kid is going through something, or that kid is this and this. So they just label it as, oh, that problem. Then they label it as thugs. They label it as, this or that. That's how they label these things. And now you get an adult with a mentality like that teaching children, that adult is only going to teach certain children, the ones that abide by blah 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 blah. They don't teach all the children. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And so yeah, it comes up from experience. Like I remember being even in Linden, like growing up in Linden or whatever, like Linden is a very diverse city, but I've experienced mad racism in my own town, like growing up. And you know what's crazy? So in Brazil, growing up with like a Brazilian culture, we kind of don't have, there is racism in Brazil for sure, 100%. I have stories of that on myself too.
Well, a lot of Spanish people or a lot of different Spanish cultures are ignorant to other cultures. Like some like Dominicans sometimes feel more superior to Puerto Ricans and vice versa. You know, I've heard myself.
Yes, yes. And it's very wrong.
Yeah.
And so when it comes down to like these things, like it's just literally walking in somebody else's shoes, trying to understand who that person is. Like if someone says, yo, dude, I've experienced mad racist shit, I know exactly what it is. Like I'm an adult to the point where what I meant to say was, I guess I'm grown enough to understand when somebody is being like passively racist towards me. And when somebody's being overtly racist, I don't really have to decipher that. but there is that passive racism that if it's not detected, you're just like, well, something's off. Like you put, 5 people on a wall and 2 of them will be super nice to me. They could all be the same race, but 2 of them will be nice to me and the other 3 will be like weird. And you're just like, why is that weird? And the more you talk to them, the more you start seeing like, oh, I get it. You're just judging me based off of whatever experiences you had. And so, and it's difficult to unwind that, and people need to be mature. Even as adults need to experience things.
See, this is where you and I differ because like, so I'm very, you know me, when I could be serious and I could be, focused and whatnot, but I've learned too from a young age, because I grew up watching a lot of comedy movies in the 90s. So like shit like Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun, Mr. Bean, these, watching their shit taught me to or like even Mr. Magoo, head up in the air, like everything just flies over you. You don't really notice anything. You're just happy-go-lucky sort of mentality. I've always been that way. And I learned from a young age that I guess because of the being bullied, laughter was a way of trying to gain some type of connection. So if it was making fun of myself, and a lot of comedians, this is why I love comedy, a lot of comedians will do self-deprecating jokes in order to gain some type of control. Oh, you think I'm this way? Well, you know what? I'm gonna think it first. So you can't give me shit because I already said it first.
That's what Eminem did a lot in his raps. Eminem would make fun of himself a lot. So it's like if he grew up a battle rapper. So in battle rap, it's just attack. He would attack himself so much that the other person had nothing to say anymore.
Yeah.
So but yeah, man, but that also, it doesn't stop the fact that racism or injustices is still there. You learned a coping mechanism for you. You learned how to look past that. Other people kind of like take it strongly. And it is very, very harsh to look at somebody in the face knowing that they hate you just because of this. And
I had that experience of being in Summit, a lot of white girls there, and so the picking was slim when it comes to diversity. There wasn't a lot of Spanish girls, there wasn't a lot of Black girls, it was a lot of white girls. So and then when I found out what sex was like, I was more concerned about being Mr. Hopeless Romantic. And so I dated a lot of white girls in high school. So I got to experience what it was like having to go to a white household in New Providence and Berkeley Heights.
Yeah.
I'm a darker skinned spick who listens
Yeah.
to punk music and paints his fucking nails black and wears bracelets and fucking shit,
Yeah.
wearing skater clothes. So, you know, and these are people that wear like LL Bean and, and so like
Patagonia. And
Patagonia, yeah, exactly. Like they're fucking wearing sandals with jeans, and you know, dad works as a doctor and you know all that shit. So I know, like, I know what it's like being in a room where the tension is so fucking there that you could cut it with a knife.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And seeing looks and being asked certain questions.
Yeah. The question is what? Wait. This is the telltale question of like, let me judge you.
Mhm.
What do you do for work?
What was it? I was in high school. So like, so it wasn't.
Okay. So you don't get that.
No, I didn't get that. I got a lot of like,
Where are your parents from?
and you know,
Yeah,
I love Spanish food and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And you know, so in high school growing up, like, so and also so I'm Spanish, Mexican, Caribbean, Belizean, whatever you want to call it. My mom gave me a full white name. Like, and my last name is British because of my dad. So I have a full British white name. Alexander ...
Yeah.
So, and people will find my name, so I don't even, well, whatever. So
Yeah.
I got into an argument with a roommate of mine when I lived in Jersey at the time. And he goes, "Well, I have a friend who has an Egyptian name, and you do you know what it's like for him to apply for jobs and they see his Egyptian name and he automatically gets denied because he has a name that doesn't sound, you know, white." And
True.
I go, Vin, I just said his name, whatever. I go, you know what it's, do you know what it's like being Spanish and having a full British white name? So then people see your application, they see your job history, which I luckily, knock on wood, I have a decent job history.
Yeah.
So they would see the name and be like, "Oh, okay, this sounds promising. Let's give them a call for an interview." And they're expecting somebody, and they see this fucking chunky Spanish kid with tattoos walk in,
Yep.
you know, and their face automatically goes from smile to serious.
Yep.
So, but the thing is I then had to learn that who I am and who I present myself means more than what I look like. So I've always saw it as this is a challenge for me to prove myself. So I have to do what I have to do in order to make it.
So no, then I'll disagree, because why do you have to? You're tap dancing. You're tap dancing for people, which it is a job, which it is a job, and it is, you have to show your qualifications for whatever said job that you're going for. Like, you have to show your qualifications, and I agree 100%. But to change your mannerisms, or if you like, I know you very well, so if you like to joke, or if you like to, why would you not, in a moment that you can, and show people who you are? Because once they get to know you, they'll realize, hey, you're just normal. And same thing with us. It's everyone's just normal. They're just in different skins or in different cultures, different backgrounds, but everyone's normal. Well, some people, but
so there's two reasons. In middle school, we had the encyclopedia CD-ROM discs. You remember that shit?
Yeah.
And so in middle school, Catholic school, they would make us go into the computer lab, I think a few times a week, and we'd have to use the encyclopedia app and learn how to type. And one of the things that played was and it's funny that Martin Luther King's birthday is just passed, I believe. I had memorized this fucking part of his speech because of that fucking intro every time. And it goes, "I had a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they won't be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Yes.
I had a dream today."
Yes.
So that was reason number one, was content of character was always something that I heard in my head. Number two, at a young age, and I want to thank Eric Modell for showing me that a job is a job. I learned at a young age, don't shit where you eat. They're there to pay me. So who I am at work is always going to be different outside of who I am outside of work, because I'm just there to make the money and do my job and get out of there. I'm not looking to fucking hang out with people unless I truly feel comfortable around them. It's just like you with teachers having trust to talk to them. I learned that people talk, and my life was so separate from work and going to hardcore shows. And because a lot of these people who I worked for, if they found out who I was outside of work, they'd be like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, so one example, Occupy Wall Street. I was arrested the first day. I started Occupy New Jersey. You could, and people could look it up. And I hate talking about it like sounding like, oh, I did. I was basically Forrest Gump at one point. I was in certain places at certain times. But I remember when I was working at the airport, full-time job alongside U.S. Customs. So I had a security background pass to walk around the back of the airport. So I had U.S. government, shit on my record. And I'm getting arrested for trying to occupy Zuccotti Park and people who want to take down Wall Street and all that shit. So I get arrested and I go to work the next day or a couple days later, and my boss calls me into the office and goes, my boss at the time calls me into the office and goes, so what happened this weekend? We saw you on TV, on the news, getting arrested. What happened? So that's why for me, who I am outside in work was always about work. And it still kind of is. I've opened up a little bit more where people have seen, the little funny side of me. And a lot of stories I do tell them, they sort of now, once they get to know me, they're just like, oh yeah, you seem like you would be that type of person that would fucking work in the circus and arrested for, getting drunk.
Yeah.
So shit like that.
I get that. I feel that hesitancy even at my job, like my tattoos and my stuff. Like I feel like whenever I take off, sometimes we're able to wear t-shirts or whatever. I see people wearing t-shirts. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is a dress down day, whatever, cool. But I still feel like, I know you're going to judge me. Like, I know you're going to like, and I feel it. And it's not said, it's always whatever, but you just feel it, you know what I mean? And, these things suck, bro. Like these things really do suck. And it's something, huh?
When the sense of tattoos, because we got tattooed, I started getting tattooed when I was 15 years old.
Yeah, and me pretty young too.
Yeah, so like, and then getting a hand tattoo when you're like 18, 19, I've seen how it slowly changed when it comes to job applications and applying for a job. But then again, that's why I had stated earlier, I always had to present myself as a professional in some way because I wanted to prove to them just because I look this way and I have tattoos doesn't necessarily mean I'm some fucking thug or whatever
exactly
I think I am.
That's exactly my thing too. And for the most part, I'm always well dressed. I'm always,
but that builds character. That molds you into a person who you are today because
absolutely. And it's not just this job that's done this to me. Other jobs have done that. But honestly, I'm confident enough in my qualifications that these things don't bother me. But getting those gawky looks and this stuff, sometimes those things do bother me. But there's nothing I could do with that. Hey man, I'm here. I'm sorry. Like if you go fuck yourself, fuck your life. Bing bong. Bing bong.
Fuck your life. No, but
yeah, dude. These things are, man. It's unfortunate. I was talking to somebody the other day, and you can probably attest to this or not, whatever. Mm-hmm. When there is a black man or a Spanish man with tattoos, it's deemed as what? It's deemed as this person is a nuisance, is a thug, or is this. Now, if a white person has tattoos, nobody even fucking bats an eye. And it's sad. It's not that they should bat an eye, but it's the same fucking thing. You get what I mean? It's the same shit.
So it's I don't know, because like I think it's different. It's different
so many times.
It's different down here from my experience. There's a lot of shitty tattoos from both colors of the skin. I've seen some really shitty tattoos where it's like your fucking cousin did that and I'm one to speak because I got a few stick and pokes.
Same respect.
Handwriting, like straight up like Gummo, like the movie Gummo, where you're just like, okay, because Kids is a good representation of what it's like living in New York and upstate East Coast. like
Yeah,
what we dealt with, you know?
yeah.
Gummo gives you that. This is why I love movies like that. It gives you a taste of what it's like in maybe southern, more midwestern areas, because Gummo reminds me a lot of down here, where it comes to the way the streets are set up, how the kids interact with each other, and I don't know. It's just I don't feel that down here when it comes to white versus black. And when it comes to tattoos, I just see shitty tattoos and a lot of Star Wars tattoos.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's just like down there is very different from up here. Like it's night and day. Like when I go to the South, I tell everybody this, like I feel uncomfortable unless it's Florida. I fucking love Florida. But any other place, I feel very uncomfortable. But not to say people are lovely. People are dear. They're so caring. Like it could be at a gas station. It could be at Bojangles. It could be at whatever. Like people are very, very loving, and goes across the board. Everybody's loving, white, black, everybody. And so I do love that Southern hospitality. But I can't help but feel out of place. Like even the way we dress, even the way like I talk, even the way like, like it's like, oh, you're always in a rush. Like you were saying, like it's like we're always in a rush, but it's not. It's just that's how it is. It's like
to do. It's just
I eat standing up. My bad. Like I gotta go. Like,
but this is again, this is where our youth comes into play. We come from a background where we had to go in order to see shows. We had to drive around New Jersey, and New Jersey is people only see outside of New Jersey. People only see Newark Airport if they're taking a plane, and they see Newark and they think, oh, New Jersey is the fucking armpit of whatever. It's like you drive around, you got farmland, you have city areas, you have suburbs, you have down the shore where it's kind of like white trashy.
I love down the shore.
Best place. You got, so the farm areas is more of like the upper class farmers. I drank with a Russian when I was in the circus. We were in New Jersey, and I went out with my buddy Pete, who was from he's from Boston, and we were hanging out with the Russian guy. Him and his group did the swing and all the flips and shit.
The trapeze thing?
Yeah, sort of thing. So we went out and they could fucking drink. So we went out to an Applebee's in like the farm area of Jersey. I forgot where we were. We were near like maybe Pennsylvania, maybe like 30 minutes away from Pennsylvania. So it was very farmlandy sort of thing. And we went out drinking at the Applebee's. And at one point, this motherfucker is yelling, Putin is the greatest leader of all. Putin this, Putin that. And
I would cry laughing. This is why I love Russian people, man. They are hilarious.
Dude,
hilarious.
We were the last ones there. We stayed until they started putting the chairs onto the fucking bar to let us know it's time to go. Like, but we got working class white men who wear like fucking vest over their sweaters and jeans and boots and drive Ford F-150s, or Chevys and shit, looking at like, this motherfucker really just said Putin is the greatest. And this,
I got one for you. The other day I was at
9/11 world we live in.
The other day I was at a hockey game and somebody hits the let's go Brandon or whatever. I was like, fuck Brandon. And then, but me and the guy thought it was funny that I said fuck Brandon. And me and the guy just ended up talking. He was like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't really give a shit either. What's up, dude? Yeah, what's up? You having fun? Yeah, having fun. And we were just bullshitting. And it was such a good time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, yeah, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
I'm happy this administration we have now is actually uniting what looks like both ideologies in some capacity, where it's just like, what the fuck is going on? But
Mitch McConnell got to go, and I believe that you can agree with that. At least Mitch McConnell got to go. No matter, and I think you can agree with that. Put somebody else in his position. It's fine. It could be Republican. It could be fine. I
think all of them need to go. I think they're just
too old. They're just old. They're just old pieces of shit. Like they're not, man, listen.
All government. I'm sorry. I'm very anti corporate government. And that's all it is. We live in a mixed economy, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that, and they think that, we're the reason why. And this is the irony of it all. Now that we're getting into this sort of thing, I've been thinking about this a lot recently. This is the irony of having a podcast that tries some podcasts, especially I've been listening to a lot of comedy podcasts, where when it comes to sponsorship and getting ad space, you're working with a lot of smaller businesses now that will kind of agree with your point of view so that you could get money. But it's funny how we still have to use these products, in order to communicate. And these are the products that are fucking destroying
Well,
world, but we're paying into it because we have to use it. So like Amazon, for example, we're the reason why Amazon is such a big thing now, but yet all of a sudden now we want to blame them. It's just like, why aren't we looking at ourselves?
well, this is the thing. We don't have to use these products. We choose to use these products, but the marketing is so good and the media is so good that the vast majority of the population, they don't seek to research any other product or any other means. They just go straight to, oh, this is all I know and this is that. And few people know that there are other options. The majority of the population will literally, like you said, like I don't have an Amazon account literally because I don't fuck with Jeff Bezos. I think Jeff Bezos is a piece of shit. And like he's made it very known that he's a piece of shit, and it's very transparent about his piece of shit.
But you have to be careful though. See, and it's a good thing that you said that. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say, you talk about no one researches. We have to blame it. You don't know, just because it's Amazon, Jeff Bezos, you don't know what else has his ties into outside of Amazon.
Oh, I do. He also has the Washington Post, right?
We'll take, for example, too, Bill Gates. A lot of farmland now is being purchased. So here's the thing is
Nestle
no matter how much we want to try and stop ourselves from supporting these things, outside of those main things, we're still supporting them manufacturing a pen, for example, because they have ties into it, whether they're part of the board or they invested into the company.
This is why I believe heavily in startups and like genuine, like people with actual ideas. And this is why I love America. I'm not going to lie, is because you can literally pick up and just start something up and say, you know what, fuck that guy or that girl or whatever. You know what, I'm gonna go just build my own. And that's literally why, like, I love it. Not everybody is in it for the right reasons. That's just the unfortunate part of it, but we can get up and go. Like you decided to get up and make this podcast. You can tomorrow decide to get up and do something else. And this is the beauty of America. And that's what I love about here. And so no matter how much we critique the US, whatever, I love the US, you know what I mean? Because of our liberty, because of our freedom of expression and our abilities to just create. We're such a diverse population in a sense that's where the internet was created in America. like come on, like we're the top innovators. We have been for many years of many things. And so
the internet was created by the government.
In where? Over here though, it was created by the government, but they used it first.
I question, so again, this is so on this spiritual journey path that I'm on. I've gained so what I don't take anything as dogma anymore. So I don't take anything as face value. How I go about life is whatever I read, whatever I do to try and better myself. If I take a little bit from it and whatever I don't find useful, I throw away. But whatever I hold on to, I don't hold on to as like, this is my conviction. My conviction is I just want to be a good person. So with that conviction, now I have to figure out, well, what do I need to do in order to make that happen? So then, but I don't hold on true to these things because tomorrow, like you said, I could pick up and do something else. Like tomorrow I could fucking decide that maybe smoking crack would be fun. And who knows? It's an extreme example.
I know.
So, so like,
maybe, I don't know.
And two, like I question, and it's funny that you're a history teacher. I question history altogether because everything is based on experiencing it, and documenting it in some way. But who writes the history books is also who controls the future.
That's also I thank God that I had great professors that literally would touch on that subject, literally, and they would literally thrive to give us the opposite. They say, oh, history is written by the victors, so let's not listen to the victors' accounts. Let's listen to the other accounts. So I thankfully, like, I had great professors, Dr. Argote and Dr. Nicholson,
What about
Belino,
Dr.
Dr.
Umar Johnson too?
Who?
Dr. Umar Johnson.
That guy's nuts, man. That guy gotta go. That guy gotta go.
They got to go, mom.
Yeah, that guy is wild, man. But no, for real though. Like, and so they make sure that we learn from diverse viewpoints and diverse perspectives. And primary sources is very important. When reading documents of history or whatever, just go to the horse's mouth, literally. Like, oh, I'm reading about Columbus. Well, look at Columbus's journal, like, look at so and so's memoirs, look at, primary sources are the most important thing. So whenever analyzing history, you can definitely dig deeper than whatever surface level of whatever topic. There's so much more.
Like, that's what kills me when it comes to perspective, because you can't expect everybody to believe in what you believe in, because everybody's opinion is different based on their perspective and how they perceive whatever objective or subjective subject comes their way. So like, it's weird. Like, that's why it's interesting seeing people who argue about the Bible, for example. They'll say, yeah, well, it's well-known documents that people have researched and saw that, yes, this, like, these scrolls from the Dead Sea, for example, is legitimate from that time. But at the same time, they're going to argue, well, these stories in the Bible were written by men who, it wasn't written by God. They're saying that God has spoken to them to write it. But it's just like, well, then if you say that, then why do the majority of you say you believe in science? Like, how do you know?
But they join. See, that's what
a lot of people don't realize that's where science actually comes from. But
that goes back to what you said earlier about ignorance. It's like, it's just sheer ignorance, because if people know that things connect, they connect. Like the Torah, the Bible, and also the Quran, they connect. They connect in a way. Each one has their individual, belief systems and whatever, and whatever fundamental doctrines that they follow, but they connect. And that's historical fact, whether you believe in the Quran or not, whether you believe in the Torah or not, it's historical fact. So just underlining and understanding those things will give you like a firm basis of like, okay, they connect. Okay, let's go on. Because there's a lot of people who argue the Bible, but they will not literally say that those connect. They will say, oh, we must worship on the Sabbath like the Jewish people did. And then in the Bible, it'll say something like, it doesn't really, it'll be like, it doesn't really matter what day you worship. And then they'll be like, no, but we must. And it's like, but it'll say like, it really doesn't matter. But if you want to, go ahead. Stuff like that.
It's like the famous story where Christ is eating with people, and the rabbis say, why didn't they pray before they ate? And he goes, it doesn't matter what comes in their mouth, it matters what comes out, sort of thing.
Yeah. Stuff like that. That goes back to that fight against legalism. And it's like, and there's like, speaking Bible wise, it's like Jesus was trying to be like, hey, it's way more simpler than that. And the rabbis were like, nah, no, it's not. We must, blah, blah, blah. And Jesus like, nah, it's really not that difficult. We don't have to do all that stuff. And these guys are like, nah, bro, nah. Like,
so what I want to get back to, this might get a little bit interesting in the conversation, because you're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mexican?
Go ahead.
So, but you know me, I'm known to say weird things that make you question, like, so you get an idea what's inside my head.
Go ahead.
So like I said, so I don't take anything as dogma. And how do you know these books that you read about that of researchers, like one guy does a research about Washington, George Washington, how do you know these are legitimate artifacts, whether he go and interview certain people or look into his letters? Well, how do you know these are authentic, sort of thing? So then I question, like, the history books, obviously, and this is where it's going to get weird. All we know when it comes to, and I hate that I'm bringing this up, but it's just been on my mind. and it's funny to me because I like comedy, so I'm just gonna try and make it extreme.
Say it. Yeah.
So how the fuck do we know that Hitler was such a bad guy if we're basing it off of America's point of view, whether it be or whether it be Jewish survivors who've written memoirs about their experience or shit like that, and then you find out like, well, the U.S. government took Nazis and brought them here to America and started the NASA program, and then you find out that Nazis were living in fucking South America and they still live down there. But how do we know that? You know, because a lot of people, you look into the history of Germany and you find out, well, before Hitler rose into power,
Bismarck.
Germany was so broke, they were in debt. They were using playing cards as IOUs because the banking system, the central federal, whatever the banking system was fucking over Germany and was just pouring out money like how we are right now in the Federal Reserve. So a lot of people were so desperate on trying to find some sort of leadership, and then they found this guy who failed at, maybe if his art teacher gave him an A on his grade, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, maybe, honestly.
Hitler was such a great, because I'm very, you know me, I'm very curious. I'll look at different things, and I've started watching, and I don't know the website. It was like something very anti-YouTube where we would just want to show what we want to show. Some asshole made a 3-hour documentary about the real history of Hitler and why Germany, and it talks about that it was they were in debt and people were so desperate, and then they started realizing that who was controlling the banking system.
Oh yeah. That all right. So historically speaking, and nobody, hopefully twists my words, but I'll start off with saying Hitler was a terrible person. Okay, we all know this. But on the flip side, he was also a very intelligent man. When you read his upbringing and you read about his life in Austria.
Have you read Mein Kampf?
Parts of Mein Kampf, yes, I have read.
I've never read it.
It's very deep.
Because he was in jail when he wrote it, right?
I don't recall. I'm not going to say yes or no, but I don't recall. But it's very deep. It's very intellectual. It's very racist also, though. And so, yes. But the guy, he grew up with so much trauma, and that poised him into becoming that person. And so what could have been used for good, he used for evil. And so these things, like these German scientists, a lot of innovation happened throughout that period. A lot of literal technological innovation happened through the German scientists, so much so that America decided to harbor them and say, hey, come with us. Lily gave me a book a while ago called The Fourth Reich. And I remember reading that, and it was a really, really good book talking about the German scientists that came. And if you want it, I'll definitely, next time I see you, I'll give it to you. But it's a really good book, and it speaks about those topics. And so, Germany was very vulnerable during this time. They were very vulnerable. So he created a political party. He started bum rushing and literally being a whole bully into political rallies and being like, no, Germany needs better, this and this. And the people were fed up.
What I heard, and see, this is why I don't take anything as dogma. What I heard was a few political group had heard him speak and had liked how he talked, so went to him and told him, tried to influence him into politics. And it has been confirmed. I think I'm not the history guy. I'm just basing it off of my own research, so I could sound totally ignorant. But
no, you're on the money. You're on the money.
The first time Hitler had ever spoke was at a bar. He had come in with a bunch of people that had guns and basically shut down the bar for the time being and held these people essentially hostage and made a speech. Made them listen. And then from there, he started putting himself out there as Mr. whatever.
Not to equate the two, because obviously I'm not equating the two, but what's her name? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez,
AOC.
AOC. She was a bartender, right? And they would speak political stuff in the bar, and so which poised her to then take action and take charge. Obviously, she's not Hitler, and she's has.
See, again, I'm hold on one second. That's my dog. If you hear noise, that's my dog. She's bored, so she's gonna chew on her bone. So here's the thing. So I don't have any trust with the government with anything involving anything that they do. And why I say this and how this all started, because AOC is a good example of what I'm about to bring up.
Yeah.
So when it came to Occupy Wall Street, I don't think Occupy Wall Street was as organic as we thought it was. And why I say that is because we had the Egyptian uprising and Tim Pool.
Arab Spring, yeah, I remember.
Arab Spring, Tim Pool was there. And one thing that I had held on to what he said was that he was at a hotel, inside the hotel while it was happening outside. He said it was two different worlds. Outside was just the uprising, the spring, and then inside was just a ritzy hotel that was just quiet, and everybody was acting as like nothing was going on outside. Everything was so different. And fast forward, Occupy Wall Street happened. I think it was actually a government psyop in the sense of when, because you got to pay attention to these things, is when surveillance started becoming more known. NSA, because Bush, the people say Bush started it, Obama gave more power to it, Trump used it. Yeah. And then, but during the Obama administration is where a lot of the experiments really started rolling out. Edward Snowden was one of the main things that really brought that up when it came to exposing that. So what I think and how I think that way was because, so what got me to want to start Occupy New Jersey wasn't actually me thinking like, oh, we could make this really a global thing.
Yeah.
A couple
it was
days
genuine concern.
Right? Well, a couple weeks into it, and you could look this guy up. He's called they called him the hipster cop. And you type in Occupy Wall Street hipster cop on Google and you'll get an article about him. There was apparently this detective that dressed up in like clothes from H&M and GQ.
I remember this.
So he came up to me one time and he started asking me questions because I had gotten arrested and they already knew who I was. Yes. Because of the first day. And I got arrested with a quote unquote communist teacher in a jail cell.
Don't you love how everything anti-whatever is communist? Everything.
But here's the thing though. So here's the thing. This is where it felt like one of those movies where you don't trust anybody because you don't know who's trying to influence you. So the hipster cop came up to me and said, why do you guys actually here in Wall Street? He goes, they don't do any business here anymore. Because they do it over in Jersey City at the Goldman Sachs building. He says, that's where all the computers are over there and they do all the fucking trading and shit. So he goes, why are you here? So then that implanted something in my brain. Then I started thinking, well, this is my stupid naive. So, well, if I start Occupy New Jersey, I could build a gap or a bridge that Occupy New York could come into here and we could, help each other. So then that's what brought me into that. So then next thing you know, I put the tweet out on Twitter at the time. I'm getting phone calls from the media. I don't know how they found my fucking personal cell number.
Oh, they found it.
I'm getting people messaging me. I had a soldier meet me. He was a veteran, apparently. Meet me at Occupy Wall Street one time to hand me some paper that he was printing out because he was going to help me with Occupy New Jersey. And then someone from Occupy Trenton, was it, or whatever, they had one there, started messaging me. I'm naive. I don't know who I'm talking to. I didn't run background checks on these people because I don't have the money for that. How do I know these people weren't hired by the fucking government as agents to try and provoke people to do things that they really don't want to do, but they feel inspired to do? Put them into a list and then run surveillance on them and try and influence people to do something that's going to make them have more control over us in the sense of the police brutality. What is it? During the Obama administration, a lot of police forces got military gear that was in surplus, Mm-hmm. That's why, like, I don't, so when it comes to AOC, What I mean is, how do we know really we're only going by what people are saying about her? Like, oh, she went to school for economics. She went this. How do you know she wasn't fucking paid for to run for office so that they could look like, oh, we have diversity in there, but we're
No,
still
man.
in our fucking
People had to vote.
agenda.
People had to vote. People had to vote to put her in, and she was legit like working there for many years. So it's not like she sprung out of nowhere like, I just got this job. No, she had friends, she had regulars, she had people.
And,
If you
well,
go to New York,
I'm
if you
not
go to
saying
New York,
that.
there's people who are friends with her. So it's like it's
I get
not like
that. What I'm saying is she could still have that history, but how do we know when it came to her running for whatever she ran for the district, it wasn't somebody coming up to her like how they what I had mentioned with Hitler, for example, where a political group came up to her and said, "Hey, listen, we like your face, we like your background. We're looking for a representative of this district. We want you to run and we'll help fund whatever it is when it comes to running. We'll give you the money to advertise. We'll give you the money so you can take the time off to go talk to the people on the streets. But we just ask that you run in line. You're like parallel to how we think, and we want you to run full. It's just like it's just how I feel. I don't have the example. It's just like, how do you know these aren't paid for pawns to try?
okay. Now let's say that is the case. Now what?
Who are they then? Who are they working for? How do you entrust somebody that I don't trust I don't trust any politicians. Cory Booker.
I agree.
Cory Booker suck my dick. Sorry.
I agree, but there are some people that are legit in there for good. So I had a professor he was an ex-senator of New Jersey, right? And he was my, what was it, activism class or whatever. But I knew the class was bullshit, right? Because I don't know if I should say this, but anyway, I won't say. So
can we pause it? Let me pause. I gotta take a piss real quick.
all right.
All right. So back to what we were saying. We were talking about AOC. You were talking about a class that an activist class.
So yeah, kind of informative in a sense, but so he was an ex-senator, and but like, I agree with you that, but there are some politicians that are in it for the good reason. This nigga, I do not fuck with this guy. I think he's a piece of shit. And I kind of told him that. So he would have us like say these things, and he called me cynical one day. He was like, "Why are you so cynical?" I'm like, "Am I wrong though?" And he was like, No, you're not wrong. Because we were talking about changing policies and changing things, and he was like, "All you guys got to do is write a letter, and you'll be able to speak to your representative of whatever district or of whatever situation." Cool. He had good intentions, but it was kind of like him trying to push his ideologies. Like, "Oh, I wrote this book. Here's the book I wrote. Oh, I'm advocating for the legality of gambling in New Jersey. Hey, you guys should help. You guys should sign this petition. Blah blah blah." Like it was shit like that. And I was like, isn't everything just pay to play? Isn't everything? Don't you guys just? Doesn't somebody just pay you, put some money in your pocket, and then that's it? And then he goes, "Why are you so cynical, man? This and this, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Am I?" That's when I said, "Am I wrong though?" And he was like, "Oh, you're not wrong." I was like, "Well, that's why I'm cynical. That's literally why I am the way I am, because I know that that shit is bullshit." Other people some people are different. Some people don't accept money from just anybody. And yes, you need the money to do things and to do that, but it matters who you accept that money from. Like, you'll get a Hillary Clinton that accepted money from a Goldman Sachs, or accepted like mad money from other places. And no, yeah. But if you accept money, let's say from a teachers union, that's a very different thing. They're going to advocate for a good positive thing. You get what I mean? So it depends. It depends heavily. If you're accepting from a teachers union, but at the same time you're accepting from a charter school stuff, it's kind of like, what do you do?
So that's the thing, is just like, again, you don't, so it could go back to like, you don't know what investments Jeff Bezos has in where he's funding certain things. And the same goes for politicians. You don't know, they could say that it's from this, they're funding, a union board is funding them. But again, you don't know the intentions of the head of the union, because their intention to try and help the teachers could be a facade. It could be
I
just
agree.
more power in there to get more power to stay within that position.
I agree, but we will only know as time progresses. That's the only way. Like Chris Christie, biggest piece of shit. Chris Christie's a piece of shit.
Cory Booker too. So, if, for example, Cory Booker apparently had an apartment there in Newark. And I know where it was because my drug dealer at the time lived on that block, and I was there a lot. I made that man a lot of money, and you know, he would tell me, "Yo, you know, that's where they say Cory Booker lives. You know, he doesn't live in there. He just rents out to make it look like he's within the heart of Newark to try and, because he ran on that story that I lived in Newark at a cheap apartment so I could be with the people and know what's going on. I never believed that. Half that shit was probably bullshit. You know, you had another fucking apartment somewhere nice, and you just, like what I did in high school, I rented out a room just to have my name on the address, and mail was sent there so I could say that I was there.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a facade, and did nothing for Newark.
I agree.
Newark.
Yeah, I agree.
He did for Ironbound, because Ironbound is where people make money over there. Prudential Center doesn't pay any fucking taxes. I'm sure Penn Station doesn't have to really do anything. You got the little restaurants over there, which is fine. You could get tourists to come in, but walk outside like the borderline of Irvington, West Orange, East Orange, and Newark, and you're gonna see like a fucking war zone. And I'm sure it's looked worse since then.
No, actually, you're very wrong on that part. It actually got way better. I've been living out there the past like year, yeah, you know, and stuff, and it got way better, man. The things that I grew up seeing out in the bricks, like you don't see nowadays. Like things are changing. There's jobs for kids. There's less people in the streets. Like it changed.
Kids, so we're doing child labor laws. We're getting rid of those now. Kids could work. Yeah,
kids is because I'm old. So kids is somebody that's 10 years younger, 10 years plus younger than us. That's why I'm saying the kids nowadays have jobs. But no, things has changed. And Mayor Ras Baraka is actually really sick. Really dope. And so he's been doing a lot of good things, positive things for the community. He inaugurated an ice skating rink in the community, and he's like, they said that we shouldn't have this. They said that we shouldn't have an ice skating rink in Newark. He's like, I say different. I think we deserve good things. I think we did, like, he's literally like doing great for the community. So he's you know, it's beautiful. And he's Newark born, Newark bred, and that nigga lives there. He is from there. Like he grew up there, like, you know, so he definitely he's out like all the time. Anytime in the summer, like we'll catch him like, yo, what's up? Like I've been on protests and he was like right next to me. Like, so he does not hide his face. He's not like in the shadows. So Newark has definitely been a great city to just be around and be involved in. It's awesome.
Oh, because I haven't been there in a while, but like when I was there last year, driving around, I don't know, Jersey always has that gloomy cloud above it that just seems like it's nowadays, especially with the way the world is, it just felt like depressing. It was weird. I don't know. I think because we get older too, and we've gotten a nice taste of life, real life after school had ended, college or whatever had ended. But like,
maybe you just see like a lot of workers and a lot of like hard, like it's just like, damn, it's just work. It's just like whatever. Maybe it's that because it's a happy place.
Different things too is just like, I don't know, whatever the journey that I'm on spiritually. And this is why the reasons why I want to do this podcast, because it's not just going to be about conversation, which is what we need. I think a lot of people need to start talking about shit and really talking and not having to sugarcoat it. It's just like so in recovery, I haven't gone since, but I used to go to AA a lot. And here in Georgia, I'm really not a fan of the recovery here in Georgia when it comes to like anything that's not medical. So like AA is more of like the community. It's different. When I went to Tennessee on vacation one time, I went to an AA meeting in Tennessee, and fuck, man, that was real. Like that was, you're sitting in a room and people are straight up like, I don't feel good today. I feel like shit. Like I'm pissed off and I don't know what I'm gonna do about it. And people
Yeah.
are just sitting there quiet, like because you know it's just like, well, there's, you can't say anything to them that's gonna make them feel better. You're just gonna have to tell them like based on my experience. But here in Georgia, it just feels too sugar coated.
Mhm.
And so like this is why again I want to do this podcast is I feel like a lot of our friends, people our age and the youth too are lost, man. People our age where we're at an age where we should sort of have not have life figured out, but we have a
Mhm.
better sense of who we are becoming as a older adult. And I don't feel like it's getting like that. I feel like there's a stalemate. It's at a standstill.
I don't agree. I don't think we can make that generalization because, like, again, it goes back to experiences. It goes back to um, childhoods. It goes back to, thank God, thankfully, too, like you were able to break a mold that you saw in your character that was fucking you up, especially with the drinking. Like you were able to see some things and like go past it. Other people aren't. Other people are not. And so there's still people that I'm pretty sure and I know that still go out every weekend and you know that's their life and they chose that to be their personality. And
Mhm.
so they're not progressing based off of their own choices, you know what I mean? So I agree to a certain degree, like we should be mature enough at this age, but I also disagree because it's like maybe they can get better in 5 years. Maybe they can get better. One person when we were when I was skateboarding for like that subculture,
Mhm.
and she told me Ava was like the skate mom. She was like really, really, she was the older one and she was like always supportive. And she told us, she was like, it doesn't matter when you find out like what you want to do for life or whatever. It could be in your 20s, it could be in your 30s, it could be in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, whatever. But what's important is that you find it.
Mhm.
And there are people who live, and we've seen this so many times. There's people who live their whole lives thinking that they were happy, blah, 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 blah. And then they reach 50 years old and say, hey, I'm just going to take on something totally different. And they change their lives and then go forth. So, I think when we see people like that, whatever is within our reach,
Mhm.
that we should definitely talk to them and we should definitely let them know that we're there for them and people within our reach. Because, we, as much as we love to help everyone, not everybody's going to want to take that. And I'm pretty sure you know that very well, especially like you said with that guy, like, hey, I'm not good or whatever, but there's nothing you could really say to that person at that time. So
Yeah, it's a so like yeah, so I honestly, so my a lot of people think life is meaningless, which I have. So there's two sides of me. You know me, I play devil's advocate. So I'm like, yeah, well, maybe life doesn't have a purpose, which is a good thing because we create our own purpose and what we want to do as long as it's going to be better for us and better for the world. Like I tell people that if you don't believe there's purpose in life, then maybe that's a good thing because then you'll find your purpose. But I tell them as long as it's good again and it's going to make you a better person, not be self-destructive and make the world a better place, go for it. But then I'm also on the other side of, well, the real purpose in life is what God, some people call it higher power, intelligent designer, whatever, is our purpose is to help each other because you know whatever why we're here we'll never know truly why we're here experiencing what we're experiencing, but while we're here, why not make the best of it? And but there's some people that don't know that sweet taste of feeling genuine love. Maybe they have love from family that they could call unconditional, but unconditional love can be in many forms. Some people call it tough love, some people call it coddling, some people call it sheltering. Um, but I don't feel like there's people really understand what genuine love is in helping somebody unless they've had it themselves. But some people just won't accept it.
That's why it's important, man. That's why it's important for like those who have experienced that love, or those who have experienced all of those traits, that we deliver that to others,
Mhm.
and literally show that you know, I agree 100%. Like we have to show that, we have to deliver that. When somebody's suffering, it's like they don't have that love. They like, some people even find it weird when you show somebody love. Like I've had people wrong me to my face, and then I say something about it. I did the situation, whatever, but then I still show them love. Like I still am like, dude, that's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like let's go past. The person gets weird, like, whoa, like I thought you didn't fuck with me. I thought because of what I did, you're not gonna talk. And I'm like, nah, dude, like I learned better. Yeah, I was taught better.
So
So I'm
I'm
gonna
so like in this, I'm in a situation right now, and I'm not naming names, whatever it is. Um, but this is just from what I'm experiencing now, being at the age that I am, and sort of seeing and being more open to finding out people now who are maybe younger within that age range. And coming from a recovery standpoint, you when you finally get sober, you don't feel like you deserve any good because you're so used to failure that when something good comes along, you feel uncomfortable and you feel like this is not meant for me. And so I have to remind myself that when I speak to certain people, because so again, this is why I want to do the podcast, and this is why I try and check in on people, and I've being becoming more open to being vulnerable and showing who I am, because I want people to feel what I feel, because I've what was given to me freely, which was genuine love, concern, someone to talk to. I think now, after 3 years of being sober, it's my turn to give back in some way.
agree.
So like, I have a person in my life, and if they do see this, I don't feel some type of way that I'm mentioning this, but like, so they're not used to feeling or getting told they have value. They're not used to being told that, their opinion matters. They're not used to that. And my goal, and I've told them, my goal is to make you feel that way, because you need to understand that there's something in you that the people who have that love you don't see it. They're going to one day realize it. And unfortunately, it's sad to say, they might see it when you're gone, but they're going to realize it. So, but while I'm here now on this fucking earth, every breath I fucking take, every time I go wake up, gotta give you what I've been given to me. But I see how people don't accept that, and I get it. It's hard, but like, I think more of that is what's needed. Concern. You can't raise. It doesn't take a village to raise a person, but the village needs to be part of that.
Yeah.
Part of it in some way.
It doesn't help if only one person from that village is
Mm.
concerned. It doesn't help. Everyone needs to be concerned. And honestly, I know everyone has their beliefs or whatever, but I learned that literally from knowing who Jesus was and stuff like that. That's me. That's my personal experience. And I learned that, like, literally, like, you know, yeah, countless times of like moments in my life that I was just like down and shit, and moments in my life that I was like, yo, I don't give a fuck, blah blah blah, like, yeah, literally praying to like die, like literally, like, yo, you can kill me now, like it's okay,
Yeah.
like real shit, you know what I mean? Like, and and then God will be like, yo, I care, there's more, like you can, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like still feeling like a piece of shit, and then he'll show, like, he'll show me. And so that's how I learned it, and other people learn it in different ways. It could be a loving aunt or a loving adult, or even through a kid, or even through, you learn even through a dog. Like you'll learn, like, man, like I'm here and this dog fucking loves me, like, man, like little shit like that, like. But our perspective, our mind has to be open enough to like see these things, see the beauty in life, because there's a lot of darkness in this world, man. So it's like it's very easy to get swayed from it. But
See, and that's why I've said this before to you. It's exhausting, and it's sad, and I'm tired of seeing people suffer, man, because I know from personal experience what it's like to be at your lowest, where
Yeah.
you want to potentially fall, like how I would see it is just fall asleep and just not have to, just feel like you're sleeping forever,
Yeah. Yeah.
not have
Yeah.
to deal with the days anymore. And it's gotten to the point now where it's just like I'm I'm tired of it. So what needs to be done? What can I do? This is the best option because it's utilizing social media and reversing it on people. I just had I'm in talks with the young Gen Z or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm in talks with them, and we were talking last night via Instagram voice message. This is why technology could be good if utilized correctly. These things that they give us, they think that people, a lot of people don't, they take it for granted. So like that's why I like sending voice messages now and not just typing anymore. I'll send you a voice message because it's just, it feels more personal. So I'm talking to them and I'm asking them, like, what is it like for high schoolers now in social media compared to millennials in social media? Because we came from an age where we were around when the internet was finally rolled out. So we got a balance of still being able to connect with people outside our fucking house by going to shows, hanging out with friends, skateboarding, what it be. But we still were able to build a social life when MySpace became a thing and all of that. And I personally feel like millennials, if they still have themselves in check and know reality versus the social media life, they're able to share and still feel personal when sharing on social media, and it not just being like some facade. Because a lot of people, when they do post online, they're not posting their real life. They just want people to feel like they have some type of life, when really they're doing the complete opposite. And with me being into street photography, I told her I think I have the advantage of not having to be being myself, but also knowing that I'm not going to be sharing everything like me, because my life is pretty fucking boring outside my fucking phone if I'm not posting photos and going outside and walking. Like I could sit here with the thumb up my ass. Do you think you really want a photo of that? Because I could post a photo of that, but I don't think that's really going to be, who I really am. That's just me being an asshole. But then she's telling me,
No pun intended.
right? But she's telling me that, like, well, and I still got messages I got to answer to her about it because we're sort of in a debate. She's telling me that a lot of people her age don't feel heard, and they feel like, she feels like they don't want social media, but they have to be part of it, because if they're not part of it, then they're nobody, because they don't feel like they have value. They don't feel like people look at them as adults or as young adults.
I can see that.
And so, like, I don't know. It's just, that's why I feel like a lot of people are just lost, or just because we're so caught up in this and trying to make people perceive that we're something that we're not. But
that's why a lot of people, when they talk about social media, they say that they go, oh, I don't post my reality and this and this. And I'm like, and I always say, well, I kind of do. And they're like, oh, okay, John does. And I'm like, no, I really do. Cause it's like, I don't want to fake the funk. Like if I'm fucked, I'm fucked. Like if I'm not, like, it's whatever. Like if I'm pissed off about something, I'm gonna say I'm pissed off about something. Like you don't have to play this game. Like that's the thing. People are like in this, like, I have to play this game. No, you don't have to play it. Be your fucking self. Like I like it because you're yourself. You know what I mean? Like say some bullshit, say whatever, like have fun. Don't get caught up into like, oh, so and so has this, I have to post something about it. Like who fucking cares? Like shit, post a picture of your nuts if you want. Like who cares? Like I don't care. I'll like it.
It's just it's interesting because, again, I feel like if you like, so this podcast idea, the photography, again, I feel like I have the advantage of not giving a shit what people think, because I'm trying to build something, and I have to be vulnerable and show who I am in order to try and find the people that I can relate to, but also at the same time finding people that maybe not I have completely different opinions with, but we see something that we like, both like, and have something in common in that, and open the door into having that conversation on. But then
And
I've calmed down a lot, and you know me, I've calmed down a lot on commenting things and debating people.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Because you
Because
and I used to go at it, like, and then you
yeah,
would
yeah.
piss me off because you would delete comments, and I'd be like, "Why are you deleting it? Let them see the conversation, whether it's we're disagreeing. At least let them read the different opinions." Mister Fucking lockdown Chinese commie
Um,
boy.
no, no, no. You would say some disrespectful shit sometimes, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to like think of these things, so let me just like take this out of here. You'd say some
And
shit.
that's when this is where I could say, then we kind of agree that why should we give value to something if it doesn't necessarily should have value? So you never gave value to it, so you got rid of it and you know, let it die. That's my view on race, for example. Why am I going to give value to something I don't believe in? I'm just adding fuel to the fire. Might as well do the opposite and just show what how we should show life and just
But that
ignore.
but that's a basis of experience, man. That's based off of like people experience things differently than you do, and especially like with that stuff, like my experience with that is probably different than yours. Somebody else is very different than mine, so it's like I'm not going to nullify somebody's experience based off of mine, you know. So that's the only thing with that. But
Yeah, it's interesting because trying to is essentially my mission in life is trying to break the mold on, but everybody's different because when it comes to trust and gaining trust, I'm still the type of person of you got to watch out who tries to talk to you or influence you in
oh,
some kind of way.
but that's not wrong, because like even like recently I had an episode with some person that like I thought that I could trust them, this and this, and then they really like did some shitty shit to me, and I said, all right, watch what I do now. And then I did some shit that they didn't really like that shit, but okay. But I had to show you like, yo, don't fucking try to cross me because I was being vulnerable, I was being nice to you, so don't do that shit to me, you know. And yeah, that shit's
You know what really opened me up, this whole the meditation and open mindfulness is
yeah.
certain person in my life has really opened my mind when it comes to how men treat women, because I'll admit I've been a piece of shit as a man to a woman, and took me within the last year or two in these last couple months to really reflect and be like, all right, maybe that mindset that I had wasn't necessarily, and you know, the red pill mindset, as they call it, the you know, the washing machine mentality, you know it,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. It's interesting how as a man we need more accountability on who
Yeah,
we
yeah, we
are
do.
as men, because I'm just hearing conversation or having conversations and hearing stories and being outside of my who I used to be and reflecting and seeing that and hearing it is just like fuck.
Yeah. No, no, same, man. I'm right there with you. Like there are things that we still have to learn. But that's why how I always think it's like nobody's done learning. If we're here on this earth, we still have time to learn, and something needs to be taught to us. And so that's how
So as a man, when it comes to again being a teacher and especially the young men in New York in school, how, because no one truly knows what it means to be a man. There is a foundation in some
oh yeah.
people that people will argue, well, it doesn't have to be like that, but you need a foundation in order for a house to stay afloat. So like as a man growing up the way you grew up and seeing young men today in school, how is it a challenge, or how is it different, and how do you approach it as a man?
As a man, man, I don't know. You just got to put your foot down sometimes, because the way society's been going, like things just either go one way, and like if you have a voice, they'll call it toxic masculinity.
Mhm.
And I think that it's not. You're literally voicing your opinion or whatever. And so just because somebody disagrees, it's not necessarily toxic, you know? And yes, some kids in the system are good. Other kids need help. Other kids grew up without fathers like I did, and other kids, suffered different things. And so as a man, we should prioritize knowing these issues and trying to help other, kids, whether it be a girl or a boy. We can still be a father figure or whatever, or help out um women and men, so it never ends, whatever we see fit, whatever we see that we can show a positive influence in whatever sphere that we're in, we just try to do that. And I think that that's correct for men and women,
I think
per
it
se.
comes with age too.
A hundred
Because
percent, a hundred
because
percent.
yeah, I had told you this story when we'd had our daily talks, but like hanging out with a friend recently and their daughter, we were at the store, I think we were at Walmart, and we were going down the aisle where it was all the grills and the grilling equipment. And me being me still was learning to think differently. Automatically said to the young girl, she's about 6 years old, I said to her, hey, this is the man's aisle, this is where men could be men. And mom was quick to correct me and said, no, this is everybody's aisle, anybody
Yeah,
could use this. And then it was quick for me to realize that I'm telling a young 6-year-old girl who's impressionable and needs to see both genders around each other and how they communicate. I could be putting in an imprint in her mind that could potentially affect her in some way,
yeah,
because as I go through whatever trauma I went through growing up, being from a Spanish household where discipline was a lot different compared to maybe somebody else's household,
yeah,
I had to like be like, oh shit, no, mom is right. This is everybody's aisle. Everybody could use this if they
yeah,
want to. That's where like then I started realizing like us men we really need to be more accountable, in a sense of really correcting ourselves and showing empathy
yeah.
to kids, especially. Doesn't matter male or female, they're young. They don't know how the world works unless they are experiencing it through adults and how we act in a society that we have to fend for ourselves.
Absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
just it's interesting how as age gets, but then again, to a lot of
Age
people take the time to reflect and really.
age is a lot, man. And it's so funny. Like, we had our experiences growing up and whatever, but like now I feel like we're really getting into knowing who we actually are.
Mhm.
And that only comes with age. Like, there will be some headbutts at my job, and it'll literally be because of age. Like, somebody will be 24 years old trying to like stunt on doing whatever, and I'm like, that's not how it should be. And then they try to like say no, well, and I'm like, that's not. And then I don't want to hit him with a when I was your age, nigga.
Yeah,
Like, I don't want to hit him with that. But that's the fact, that's literally the fact. Like, our experiences really shape us into who we are. And so if we don't learn from others as well, and if we don't like change, like you said, like change our stuff, we're just going to stay back. And there's a lot of people in this world that literally just stay held back because they don't want to take that. It hurts to change. It really hurts to change. It's like, no, I have to do this, or I have no, it hurts, man. It hurts because you're just shaving off yourself. And
yeah, I
so,
think you're restricting yourself from really growing. There's a lot of I love philosophy, and I've been reading
yeah,
this book, a bunch of quotes from Bruce Lee, and one of his famous quotes is how running water never goes stale. You just got to flow with it. You got
yeah,
to be empty. The only way a cup is useful is if it's empty, and the only way water doesn't go stale is it just keeps moving forward and it becomes what it becomes. So adaptability needs to be part of who we are as we grow up. We need to be more adaptable to our situations, our
Yeah.
experiences, what we're going through. Um,
100%.
we should be open-minded.
Yeah.
We should prepare for the unprepared.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things that are is essential to growth, but I don't, if the school doesn't teach it, who's going to? And we could go back to, again, doesn't take a village to raise a child, but the village needs to be there at the appropriate times in order to look out for what is essentially is the future. Because we used to hear it a lot growing up. The future, the kids are the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What happened to the future?
Hey man, we're in it, and then that's where we come in. That's how I believe. We're in the future. We're in that future that we, in the past, didn't know what it was going to be, and
I
we're
don't
there.
know, man. I think everything's just a matrix, and we just need to unplug because all of this has just been fixed, and we need to get outside of that and unplug and really see reality for what it is.
Says the man that's probably on LSD or at that moment that says that.
Well, no, after like
No, I'm just joking.
But like a lot of meditation and a lot of that really does put you outside a perspective where you're just like, wow, everything that I thought I knew or learned is not what it is. Everything is not what it seems. And then you can talk about like quantum physics, where it's the double light slit experiment, where particles or light particles they change either wavelength or solid state compared on it being observed. So then it brings the idea of, well, what is it that we're seeing? Is there something outside of our consciousness? Like, is this really reality, or are we plugged in? We see particles or energy being observed is going to show in a solid state, but then when it's not being looked at, what is it? Is there something else out there? Is where I start getting weird because,
No, I'll always agree that there's something else. I know people have their different beliefs, but the human being does not know everything. I always say this: if somebody can show me a human being that knows everything, then I'll follow that human being. Other than that, I'll follow something that's bigger than any human, whether visible, invisible, tangible, intangible. I would much rather do that.
Lily was the one that got me into my spiritual journey.
Yeah, Lily's great.
A former kid studying physics all of a sudden found and started believing in an intelligent designer. And from there got me on my spiritual journey, where I'm at the point where,
hey man, yeah,
I just have my beliefs and I don't press it onto anybody. I just be a living example.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. Because trying to tell people it has to be this way and you need to do it this way.
No.
Some people could fucking take that type of judgment. Some people are just like, no, you're pushing me away.
Yeah, it depends on who you speak to.
Yeah. But
right.
So yeah, I don't know. I think we got everything, man.
Yeah, brother.
We got hardcore teaching. Oh, yeah. So the last question.
Okay.
To anybody who ends up listening to this, any advice to anybody who you think, or just anything you want to say in hopes for the future or even tomorrow? Is there anything from your own experience you want to tell people?
Love yourself. Trust God. Life will suck a shit ton, but it'll also be awesome a shit ton. And choose to have fun, because the days passed and then that's it.
All right. Yeah. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate this. I'm gonna look at this later and see what we got here. Right. And I don't even know how long we were doing this for. A couple hours.
Yeah.
We started at 12:37. It's 3:16. Wow, this is gonna be a long one.
Austin 3:16.
We'll have to dumb it down for.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man.
All right, dude.
Dude, have a good one. And I'll give you a text or I'll give you a call tomorrow.
All right, dude. Peace, man.
Remember, if you're playing, if you shake it twice, you're just playing with it.
All right, all right. Then I gotta do 2 pumps then. All right,
All right.
cool.
Pump and go. Stick and move. Stick and move.
All right, bro.
All right,
Peace.
peace, brother.